Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 1633. Time flew by. A month passed. The snake soup outside was finally done stewing. The god-meat snake soup that was simmered over a slow fire was truly delicious. Everyone's appetite was whetted as they ate bowl after bowl. Fatso and the others naturally wouldn't miss out on such delicacies, and also ran out to eat and drink. Only Qin Feiyang stayed in the castle to cultivate silently. Although the snake soup was delicious, it was no longer able to increase everyone's cultivation. However, it could still strengthen their physique. Now, whether it was Ning Mingyi and the others, or Fatso and the others, they could all kill people of the same realm in an instant. Another month passed. Boom! On this day, Qin Feiyang's entire body suddenly emitted a huge aura. His cultivation soared straight to the 9-star War Emperor. At the same time, the Fatamint character under his fingertips shot out rays of dazzling divine light. Following closely, the Fatamint character turned into a ray of light and entered Qin Feiyang's glabella like lightning. Fatso opened his eyes, looked at Qin Feiyang, and asked, "Boss, how do you feel?" Qin Feiyang closed the iron book and smiled, "I haven't tried it yet, how would I know how it feels?" "Then quickly go out and try it," Fatso urged. Qin Feiyang nodded, his figure flashed, and appeared in the plaza outside. A month ago, after eating the snake soup, everyone cultivated in the plaza, using the ability of the god meat to temper their bodies. Sensing Qin Feiyang's aura, Ning Mingyi, Li Yun, and Willow Tree immediately opened their eyes. Upon seeing Qin Feiyang, the three of them were stunned. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Li Yun asked, "Brother Qin, did you break through?" Qin Feiyang nodded, and asked doubtfully, "Is there a problem?" "Of course there's a problem. 2 months ago, you just broke through to the 8-star War Emperor, and now you're breaking through again. This is too fast," Li Yun said. 2 months. Qin Feiyang was stunned and then shook his head with a wry smile. In fact, 600 days had passed in the ancient castle, which was almost 2 years. 600 days had passed in the castle, but only 2 months had passed outside. Breaking through from an 8-star combat emperor to a 9-star combat emperor in 2 months was indeed a little too ridiculous. Maybe it's because I'm lucky. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and said with a smile, "Good luck." Li Yun was speechless. What did luck have to do with cultivation? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Let's not talk about this first. Which one of you wants to compete with me in speed?" "Compete in speed?" The three of them were stunned. The Willow Tree said strangely, "Young master, we are all fake gods. Are you sure you want to compete with us in speed?" "I'll give it a try. Let's see who gets to Soul Ceiling Valley first," Qin Feiyang said. Li Yun stood up, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said with a smile, "Brother Qin, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're overestimating yourself. Competing with us in speed is simply asking for a beating." Qin Feiyang said, "Cut the crap, come on. Okay, I'll satisfy you. I'll compete with you. We're competing to see who gets to Soul Ceiling Valley first, right?" Li Yun asked. Qin Feiyang nodded. Li Yun walked to Qin Feiyang's side, stood side by side, and said, "Why don't you set off first, and I'll catch up with you after 5 breaths." Qin Feiyang was helpless. Li Yun smiled and said, "I'm doing this for your own good. Otherwise, when I win later, you'll say that I bullied you. Don't give me that. Let's set off together, let's go." Qin Feiyang shouted in a low voice and activated the attainment formula. Divine light burst out from under his feet. When he took off his shoes, everyone could see that the word attainment had appeared on the soles of his feet. Swish! As he took a step forward, he instantly disappeared from everyone's line of sight. Li Yun was stunned. This speed was actually faster than a 9-star combat emperor at the peak realm. And it was not just a little faster. What's going on? He disappeared with a single step. Why does this look like the legendary teleportation? Ning Mingi and Willow Tree also looked at each other. When Li Yun came back to his senses, he hurriedly rushed into the sky and rushed towards Soul Ceiling Valley. But when he arrived at the entrance of Soul Ceiling Valley, Qin Feiyang was already waiting there. Qin Feiyang said unhappily, "Didn't I ask you to set off together? Wait. Your speed is abnormal. Without a trace, why does it look like teleportation?" Li Yun frowned. Flying in the air, no matter how fast one was, even if one used an auxiliary divine art, there would still be traces left behind. Only the legendary teleportation could disappear without a trace. Qin Feiyang smiled and did not answer. He said, "Let's compete again and see who gets to the square first." Okay. Li Yun nodded and walked to Qin Feiyang's side. He took a deep breath and looked at Qin Feiyang. "We can set off at any time. This time." He did not dare to be careless and took it very seriously. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang roared, used the attainment formula, and instantly disappeared without a trace. It's really teleportation. Li Yun also broke through the air at the same time. Looking at the empty void in front of him, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Whoosh! Swish! But in the end, the first to arrive at the square was still Li Yun. However, Qin Feiyang was not far behind. In less than 3 breaths of time after Li Yun arrived at the square, Qin Feiyang also appeared on the square. However, although Li Yun arrived first, Li Yun's face was filled with disbelief. Although Qin Feiyang's speed was a little slower than his, it was actually not much different. Ning Mingi looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Yun and asked, "Did you guys set off together?" "Yes." Li Yun nodded. "How is this possible?" Ning Mingi's face was also filled with shock. "Young master, are you sure you are only a 9-star war emperor? You didn't hide your cultivation from us?" Willow Tree also had a look of disbelief. "I want to hide my cultivation." Qin Feiyang was speechless. Hearing this, Willow Tree and the other two looked at each other. With the cultivation of a 9-star war emperor, his speed was almost comparable to them, fake gods. This was too ridiculous. The others also stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Especially Zhao Shimen, Ning Yifeng, and Li Chang, their eyes were about to pop out. Li Chang swallowed his saliva and said, "Uncle Qin, can we compete?" "Sure." Qin Feiyang nodded. Li Chang hurriedly ran to Qin Feiyang's side and nodded to Qin Feiyang. "Let's go." The two set off at the same time. Ning Mingi and the others also soared into the sky and looked at the two of them. Soon, the group of people were all dumbfounded. Because they saw that when Qin Feiyang rushed to the Soul Ceiling Valley and rushed back from the Soul Ceiling Valley, Li Chang was still halfway to the Soul Ceiling Valley. In other words, Qin Feiyang had already made a round trip and Li Chang had not yet arrived at the Soul Ceiling Valley. Moreover, Li Chang also used a perfect auxiliary battle art. Chang's cultivation is higher than yours, and he even used an auxiliary battle art, but his speed is actually so much worse than yours. How did you do it? Li Yun looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I just mastered an auxiliary divine art." Auxiliary divine art? Everyone was stunned. Even if it was an auxiliary divine art, it couldn't be so ridiculous. After a while, Li Chang finally ran back breathlessly, shook his head with a wry smile, and cupped his hands. "Uncle Qin, this nephew admires you." Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. This kid, the more he called him, the smoother it got. Willow Tree gathered his thoughts and said, "Young master, back to the topic, more than 2 months have passed, you have to hurry up. You mean the devil mark? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. Now you only have 3 months left. If you can't find a way to leave the Black Tortoise realm in these 3 months, then you, Willow Tree said this and did not continue, because he believed that Qin Feiyang could understand. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, even if the devil mark appears, it doesn't matter, but it's time to set off, get ready. Where are we going? Willow Tree asked. The end of the desert. Qin Feiyang said, his eyes flashing. What? The end of the desert? Are you sure you're not joking? Back then, Ning Mingi and I spent half a year, but we still couldn't find the end of the desert. Li Yun hurriedly said. Yes. Since ancient times, the Black Tortoise realm has given birth to countless experts, but no one knows how big and deep the desert is. It's very likely that there's no end. Moreover, even if there is an end, we won't be able to reach it. Because the storm in the depths of the desert is enough to threaten the lives of us false gods. Ning Mingi followed. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and entered the castle. Looking at Dan Wangkai standing in front of the pill furnace, he asked, do you have the 5 Elements Universe pill? Yes. Last time I tried to refine a few, but they all had 5 pill patterns. Dan Wangkai said. 5 pill patterns only had an average success rate. But now, the Netherworld Demonic Flame had been upgraded to the 9th grade. Without a 9th grade pill furnace, he couldn't start refining pills at all. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang said, take it out for me to try, I hope I'm lucky enough to break through to the peak. If he had known, he should have refined some 5 Elements Universe pills in advance. Dan Wangkai nodded, took out a jade box from his Qianquan bag and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang grabbed the jade box and opened the lid. A surge of majestic 5 Elements elemental energy immediately gushed out. The 5 Elements Universe pill was made from the essence of the 4th fire, the essence of the Kuei water, the essence of the 2nd wood, the essence of the 6th earth, and the refinement of the 8th metal. Therefore, there was no medicinal fragrance. He looked down at the jade box. Inside the jade box, there were 4 pills lying quietly. They were only the size of pellets, and they were 5-colored, like colorful gems. Qin Feiyang grabbed a 5 Elements Universe pill, looked at it for a while, and put it in his mouth. Then he returned the jade box to Dan Wangkai, sat cross-legged on the ground, and closed his eyes. Boom! Just as he closed his eyes, the energy of the 5 Elements Universe pill burst out in his body. The power of the 5 elements surged like angry waves, rushing to his limbs and bones. A sharp pain suddenly swept through his body. The huge energy seemed to be tearing his body apart. He gritted his teeth and persisted. As the energy continued to melt, it merged with his body and battle chi. Boom! All of a sudden, his aura broke out of his body uncontrollably. And it was getting stronger and stronger. My luck can't be so good, right? Dan Wangkai murmured. The 5 Elements Universe pill with 5 pill patterns, half of the success and half of the failure, completely depended on luck. If he was lucky, he would succeed in 1 try. If he was unlucky, he might not succeed in several or even dozens of tries. And now, Qin Feiyang slapped his head, then glared at Willow Tree and said angrily, what nonsense are you talking about? What little lover? Isn't it? Willow Tree smiled sinisterly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes, took out the image crystal stone, and sent a message to Wang Yu. However, Wang Yu did not respond. What's going on? Qin Feiyang frowned and sent another message. Time passed breath by breath. Zhuge Mingyang's eyes flashed slightly. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I have an ominous feeling. Qin Feiyang's eyelids twitched. He looked up at Zhuge Mingyang and said in a deep voice, what do you want to say? Zhuge Mingyang said, don't you already know in your heart? Why are you still asking me? Impossible. The guardian doesn't know her relationship with me at all. Qin Feiyang said. The guardian doesn't know, but Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing know. They hate you to the core. It's not strange for them to tell the guardian, right? Zhuge Mingyang said. Qin Feiyang's face was as dark as water. Even if the giant python knows the relationship between Wang Yu and young master, it doesn't know where Wang Yu is. Can you not make trouble here? Willow Tree glared at Zhuge Mingyang. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Let's not talk about the guardian first. Mu Qing can easily find Wang Yu's whereabouts. I believe Brother Qin knows this better than me. Zhuge Mingyang laughed. Shut up. Qin Feiyang shouted angrily and continued to send messages to Wang Yu. But after waiting for a while, there was still no response. Could it be as Zhuge Mingyang said, that Wang Yu had fallen into the hands of the guardian? Qin Feiyang clenched his hands, looked at Ning Mingyi and Li Yun, and asked, who in your Vangda League and Fengtian Palace has established a contract bridge with Wang Yuanshan? Young master, are you confused? Aren't the 6 elders right beside us? They and Wang Yuanshan are all elders of the main tower. They must have established a contract bridge with each other. Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang shivered and hurriedly entered the castle. He's not confused. He's confused. He's confused because he's concerned. It means that Wang Yu still has some weight in his heart. No. I should say that she's quite important. Zhuge Mingyang smiled playfully. How do you know? Are you a roundworm in his stomach? Willow Tree looked at him in disgust. Of course I know. Because I know him too well. He's a very, very calm person. I've never seen him so flustered even when facing a fake god. Zhuge Mingyang said. In that case, young master's cold heart has indeed melted Wang Yu. Willow Tree murmured. In the castle, the 6 elders stood in front of Qin Feiyang and tried to send messages to Wang Yuanshan one by one. However, just like Wang Yu, there was no response at all. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, Feiyang, forgive me for being blunt, but I'm afraid this is really bad. You don't have to worry. I'll find out. Qin Feiyang smiled and left the castle. How was it? Willow Tree asked. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Their hearts sank as well. You can actually send a message to Mu Qing. At the same time, you can also confirm whether he's still in the Black Tortoise world. Zhuge Mingyang said. Qin Feiyang heard this and immediately took out an image crystal to send a message to Mu Qing. However, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. He didn't respond to you. This means that he and Mu Tianyang have really left the Black Tortoise world. If Wang Yu and Wang Yuanshan really fell into the hands of the protectors, they must be with them now. Being outside the Black Tortoise world, they naturally can't receive your message. Zhuge Mingyang said. Willow Tree said angrily, can you stop talking? Can't I tell you the truth? Zhuge Mingyang pursed his lips. You talk too much. Willow Tree glared at Zhuge Mingyang, then looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled, young master, don't worry too much. If Wang Yu really fell into the hands of the protectors, they definitely won't kill her because they still need to use her to threaten you. Willow Tree's words are reasonable. Ning Mingyi and Li Yun nodded. Qin Feiyang's gaze was uncertain. After a long time, he let out a long breath and looked at Ning Mingyi and Li Yun, asking, where else in the Black Tortoise world can we find a grade 8 pill fire? What do you want a grade 8 pill fire for? The two of them were suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, not only do I want a grade 8 pill fire, I also want a grade 8 pill furnace. Ning Mingyi gritted his teeth and said, I have a grade 8 pill furnace, I can give it to you. First a grade 8 pill fire, now a grade 8 pill furnace, how many things are you hiding behind my back? Didn't I say to give everything you have to Dan Wangkai and Lu Hong? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily. If it wasn't for the incident in the Soul Sealing Valley, he wouldn't care. But this person wanted to harm him in the Soul Sealing Valley. So now, he had to start to doubt this person's loyalty. Ning Mingyi's gaze trembled, and he hurriedly said, I swear, I only have a pill furnace left. Take it out. Qin Feiyang said. Ning Mingyi waved his hand, and a golden light swept out from between his eyebrows. It was a dazzling pill furnace, as if cast from gold, with a lifelike golden dragon engraved on it. This is the Golden Dragon Furnace, a genuine grade 8 pill furnace. After Ning Mingyi wiped off the blood qi, he respectfully handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent it into the ancient castle, saying, Dan Wangkai, this Golden Dragon Furnace is yours from now on. Thank you, young master. Dan Wangkai in the ancient castle held the Golden Dragon Furnace, as if he had received a treasure, his face was full of joy. Qin Feiyang looked at Ning Mingyi and asked, what about the grade 8 pill fire? Grade 8 pill fire, Ning Mingyi thought for a while and said, as far as I know, other than us, it seems that only the city lord of Seven Demons City has a cluster of grade 8 pill fire. Seven Demon City. Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Young master, this Seven Demon City is very famous in the Black Tortoise world, but its bad name is spread far and wide. Because Seven Demon City is a place where dragons and snakes mix together, the people inside are basically all vicious and evil people. Especially the seven demons, they bully men and women, kill people for their possessions, and commit all kinds of crimes. These seven demons are seven blood brothers, they all have the cultivation of false divinity, and the city lord is the leader of the seven demons. However, even though they often commit crimes, they still know their limits and have never infringed on the interests of us few big forces. Therefore, we also did not bother with them. Willow Tree explained. Qin Feiyang said, let's go to Seven Demon City immediately. Okay. Willow Tree nodded, took out a teleportation gate and quickly opened it. After Qin Feiyang entered the teleportation gate, Willow Tree and the others followed in one after another. In the next moment, the few of them descended in the sky above a mountain range. The mountain range was long and undulating, with many towering peaks standing tall. And right below, there was a huge deep pit, filled with cracks and broken pieces. The surroundings of the deep pit were also filled with devastation. Qin Feiyang scanned the area below and asked suspiciously, where is Seven Demon City? Wait. Willow Tree stretched out his hand. Immediately. He scanned the surrounding mountains and frowned slightly, then lowered his head to look at the deep pit below and said, that's right, this is Seven Demon City, but where is the city? Seven Demon City is indeed here. But how did it become a deep pit? Ning Mingyi and Li Yun also said, their faces full of suspicion. Not only did they not see the city, they did not even see a single person. Zhuge Mingyang said, from the looks of it, the city seems to have been destroyed. You guys sense it carefully, there seems to be remnants of battle aura in the void here. Qin Feiyang and the other three sensed it carefully, and indeed, they could feel some aura. But it was very weak. They could not tell who had left the aura behind. From the situation below, this Seven Demon City has been destroyed for at least half a month. But other than the few of us, who else has the ability to destroy Seven Demon City? Ning Mingyi scanned the deep pit, then looked up at Willow Tree and Li Yun, frowning and asking. Willow Tree and Li Yun shook their heads, they could not figure it out either. Because for the past 2 months, everyone had been in Aeon City and no one had left. The only one who was not with them, Netherworld Hall, had also been taken away by the Guardians 2 months ago. And the overall strength of Seven Demon City was second only to the few of them. Logically speaking, no one should be able to threaten Seven Demon City. Chapter 1635. Li Yun suddenly looked at a giant peak on the left and shouted, "Who's there?" Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree, Ning Mingi, and Zhuge Mingyang were shocked and turned their heads to look. That giant peak was about 1,000 feet high and was covered with vegetation. Someone's there. Ning Mingi was suspicious. I saw a figure just now, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Li Yun nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Let's go and take a look." Whoosh! The 5 of them cut through the sky and quickly flew above the giant peak, looking down at the peak. But other than the dense weeds and trees, they didn't see anyone. Qin Feiyang said, "Look for it with your divine sense." The 4 of them immediately released their divine sense and rushed towards the peak. Want to leave? The next moment. Almost at the same time, the 4 of them roared and the power of the false god rolled out and rushed towards the void on the right side of the peak. There's really someone. Qin Feiyang was surprised. And this person has a space divine item. Willow Tree said. A space divine item, looks like he's not a simple character. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. Whoosh! Suddenly, a burly man appeared in the void and hurriedly said, "Lords, don't do anything. It's you." Willow Tree and the other 2 were stunned. This burly man was 2 meters tall and had a head of thick black hair, like a small giant. His upper body was exposed, only wearing a pair of large black pants. His body was muscular and there was a shocking scar on his face like a centipede, giving off a bandit aura. The burly man looked at Willow Tree and the other 2 and bowed, "Greetings, Alliance Master, Palace Master, and Elder Lu." "Who is he?" Qin Feiyang asked. "He is the leader of the 7 Fiends, the city lord of 7 Fiends City, Chui Li." After Willow Tree finished speaking, he looked at Chui Li and said, "I don't think I need to introduce you to this person beside me." As for Zhuge Mingyang, Willow Tree completely ignored him. Chui Li hurriedly turned to Qin Feiyang and bowed, "This lowly one, Chui Li, greets young Master Qin." Qin Feiyang asked, "What's the situation here? What a sin." Chui Li let out a sorrowful sigh. Looking at the 5 of them, he said, "This was all done by the Guardians." "What? Guardian? How did you provoke it?" Qin Feiyang and the other 3 were quite surprised. Chui Li raged, "It's all because of Wang Yuanshan." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and asked suspiciously, "What does this have to do with Wang Yuanshan?" 2 months ago, Wang Yuanshan brought Wang Yu to my 7 Fiends City. Wang Yuanshan and I are close friends, so I let him and Wang Yu stay in 7 Fiends City. Furthermore, we treated them with good wine and meat. Just half a month ago, the Guardian came to 7 Fiends City and asked us to hand Wang Yuanshan and Wang Yu over to it. I saw that the Guardian did not come with good intentions, so I wanted to delay the Guardian and let Wang Yuanshan and Wang Yu secretly leave 7 Fiends City. Tell me, am I not being loyal enough by doing this? Chui Li roared. Zhuge Mingyang nodded and said, "You are using your own life as a wager. You are indeed loyal. But guess what Wang Yuanshan did? I asked him to secretly leave 7 Fiends City, but not only did he not leave, he even ran to the Guardian and flattered it. He even betrayed me, saying that I went against the Guardian's wishes and asked him and Wang Yu to secretly leave. When the Guardian heard this, it was furious and directly destroyed the entire 7 Fiends City. Everyone in the city instantly ceased to exist. My 6 younger brothers self-destructed as well. I saw that the situation was bad, so I pretended to be dead to escape." Chui Li sighed. Willow Tree said angrily, "This Wang Yuanshan really deserves to die. It's my fault. I shouldn't have let him off." Qin Feiyang clenched his fists and said in frustration. Zhuge Mingyang said, "Wasn't he controlled by your slavery seal? Why don't you know what he is thinking?" Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "I was in seclusion, how would I have the time to care about him? Tell me the truth." Don't blame me for saying this. Sometimes, you are just too indecisive. Zhuge Mingyang shook his head. Qin Feiyang looked at Cui Li and said, in that case, Wang Yu, is now in the hands of the guardian. Yes. Wang Yu, is not bad. When she saw Wang Yuanshan betraying me, her face was full of disappointment, and she even wanted to cut ties with Wang Yuanshan. Because of this, Wang Yuanshan flew into a rage. If the guardian hadn't stopped him, he would have killed Wang Yu, on the spot. That bastard is really inhumane. It's fine if he betrayed me, but he actually attacked his family. How hateful. Cui Li said in disgust, his eyes full of killing intent. He really deserves to die. Li Yun and Ning Mingi also nodded. Willow Tree said, young master, can't your slavery seal kill people from a distance? Why don't you just erase his soul now? Killing him like this is too easy for him. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. Yes. This kind of person must suffer a fate worse than death. Zhuge Mingyang nodded. Willow Tree said, then try and see if you can sense Wang Yuanshan's current location through the slavery seal. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes. A moment later, he opened his eyes and shook his head. Sigh. Willow Tree sighed, turned to look at Cui Li, and asked, why didn't you come to us after such a big thing happened? For the past half a month, I've been hiding in the spatial divine item, not daring to go out. Actually, I also thought of looking for you. But I was afraid. Because if I went to look for you and was discovered by the guardian, it would be even more impossible to let me go. Cui Li said. Qin Feiyang said, so, you plan to drag out an ignoble existence like this? What else can I do? It's the guardian. Do I dare to go against it? Cui Li said. A person must have a backbone. We used to be afraid of it like you, but haven't we started to resist now? Li Yun said. Is resistance useful? Cui Li shook his head and laughed at himself. Li Yun said, whether resistance is useful or not, at least we've tried. That's right. If we try, there's still hope. If we don't, we're just waiting for death. I don't want to be like my predecessors, trapped here for the rest of my life. Even if I fail in the end and die in the hands of the guardian, I won't regret it, because at least I tried. Ning Mingi said each word with a pause, his words sonorous and powerful. Cui Li looked at the two, then at Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree, and Zhuge Mingyang. He gritted his teeth, nodded, and said, what's the difference between a person without backbone and trash? All right, I'll accompany you. Qin Feiyang smiled, extended his hand, and said, welcome. Thank you. In the future, I hope young Master Qin will take care of me. Cui Li grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand and held it tightly. We'll take care of each other. Qin Feiyang smiled. Willow Tree reminded, young master, don't forget our purpose in coming to Seven Fiends City this time. Purpose? Cui Li looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, I want Brother Cui's grade 8 elixir fire. I hope Brother Cui can part with it. This, Cui Li's expression froze. Qin Feiyang smiled again, of course, now that we're all friends, if Brother Cui is not willing, I won't force you. Cui Li looked at Qin Feiyang, suddenly smiled, and said, young Master Qin, what are you saying? Isn't it just a grade 8 elixir fire? Anyway, my alchemy talent isn't that great, I'll give it to you. After saying that, a fist-sized elixir fire flew out from Cui Li's body, in front of Qin Feiyang, and erased the blood contract. Actually, he wasn't such a generous person. The reason why he gave it to Qin Feiyang so readily was because he liked Qin Feiyang's character. With Qin Feiyang's methods, he could take it by force, but he didn't do so. Secondly, now that they were on the same boat, he still needed to rely on Qin Feiyang to survive. Thank you. Qin Feiyang said gratefully, and brought the elixir fire into the ancient castle to refine the 5 elements universe elixir. Facing a new elixir fire, he needed to spend time to familiarize himself with it. Chapter 1636. Very soon. He had successfully refined a 5 elements universe pill. The 7 pill patterns flickered with dazzling light. But to be safe, he refined 2 more pills. Then, he swallowed a 5 elements universe pill and began to break through to the peak. This time, he was lucky and succeeded on his first try. Feeling the surging power in his body, Qin Feiyang was extremely excited. He had finally stepped into the peak. Now, he could also begin to break through to the semi-god realm. Lu Jing opened his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Little cousin, refine a few 5 elements universe bags for me too." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Zheng's cultivation had already stepped into the 8-star combat emperor realm after eating the barbecue 2 months ago. After another 2 months of hard work, it would not be long before he could step into the 9-star combat emperor realm. At that time, he would use the 5 elements universe pill to directly break through to the peak. After refining more than a dozen 5 elements universe bags, Qin Feiyang gave the pill fire to Dan Wangkai. This made Dan Wangkai extremely happy. With an 8th grade pill furnace and an 8th grade pill fire, he should be able to refine a pill with 6 pill patterns. He tried to refine a few battle chi pills. In the end, he really refined 6 pill patterns. This will undoubtedly be of great help to me. Qin Feiyang muttered. Although Dan Wangkai had been immersed in the Tao of alchemy all these years and his cultivation had not improved much, in Qin Feiyang's eyes, Dan Wangkai had already become his right-hand man and could not be separated. Soul refining technique. Looking at Dan Wangkai's back, Qin Feiyang muttered and left the castle. When Willow Tree and the others saw Qin Feiyang, they were stunned. This aura was actually much stronger than before. Ning Mingyi smiled bitterly and said, "Young lord, your cultivation progress is a little scary. In just 2 months, you have advanced from a 6-star combat emperor to the peak of a 9-star combat emperor." "What? 2 months?" Hearing this, Cui Li was dumbfounded. How was it possible to break through from a 6-star combat emperor to the pinnacle combat emperor realm in 2 months? What a joke! Li Yun said helplessly, "This is the truth. We saw it with our own eyes. You have to believe it." Cui Li was dumbfounded. Was he still human? That was too scary. Zhuge Mingyang pursed his lips and said indifferently, "Although you've reached the pinnacle, there's still a long way to go before you can catch up with me. The profound meaning of becoming a god isn't that easy to comprehend. Don't think too highly of yourself. I never thought of catching up to you. You will never be the target that I chase after." Qin Feiyang said. Zhuge Mingyang joked, "But my strength is stronger than yours. There's still a long way to go. Let's wait and see." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked at Willow Tree, saying, "Let's go." Willow Tree nodded and opened a teleportation door. The 6 of them entered one after another and landed above the entrance of the Undead Mountain Range. Undead Mountain Range? Cui Li was stunned and asked suspiciously, "What are we doing here?" "We don't know either." Li Yun and the others smiled helplessly and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled but didn't say anything. He went straight into the sky above the mountain range. 2 months had passed and the destroyed Undead Mountain Range had regained some vitality. The cedars were like large umbrellas that stood tall on the ground and exuded boundless vitality. As Qin Feiyang flew, he suddenly stopped and scanned the cedar trees below. "Why did you stop?" Willow Tree and the others looked at him suspiciously. Zhuge Mingyang's face was filled with fear. All of a sudden, Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed in the middle of the cedar forest. He bowed to the cedars in all directions. Li Yun frowned. What is he trying to do? I don't know. Willow Tree shook its head. Huff. After bowing, Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. He looked at the cedar trees around him and said, "For countless years, you all have carried on the will of the deceased. Regardless of wind and rain, you have always protected this pure land. This junior admires you. What are you up to now?" Zhuge Mingyang frowned. "Actually, I shouldn't have disturbed you or implicated you. Because this is your root and your home. However, the sages who nurtured you with their blood and bodies also have roots and homes. Although I have never seen them or know them, I can imagine that when they were alive, they must have wanted to return to the homeland that nurtured them. Therefore, I would like to implore everyone to fight side by side with me. We will fight against the guardians to the end and break this cage so that the souls of the deceased can be released. You carry on the will of the deceased. I believe that you can also feel that if we don't break the black tortoise world, their souls will never rest in peace." Qin Feiyang cried out mournfully. "I see." Willow Tree and the others suddenly understood. They also felt sad in their hearts. Which one of the people trapped in the black tortoise world didn't want to leave? Which one of them didn't want to go home? However, the rules of the black tortoise world were like an insurmountable mountain. No matter how capable they were, they could only look at it and stop. Sages, I believe that your souls haven't dissipated and can hear us. I beg you to fight side by side with us. Ning Mingi couldn't help but cry out sorrowfully. Yes. We need you. Li Yun roared. Her voice was like a bell that resounded in all directions. Whoosh! One of the cedars suddenly swayed. However, the other cedars didn't move. Qin Feiyang's spirit rose as he said loudly, I can't promise you anything here, and I can't guarantee that I can take you out of the black tortoise world and leave the divine ruins. However, I will try my best, even if it costs me my life. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, the other cedars also swayed. Come. Let us work hard together. Let the guardians, let the creators see that we are not ants that they can casually trample on. We are insignificant people, and we also have dignity. Heaven's might can be defied, but we can't lose our courage. We must show them our determination. We will not stop until we break this cage. Qin Feiyang roared. A shocking battle intent and an unyielding will rushed out of his body like a volcano erupting. Heaven's might can be defied, but we can't lose our courage. The eyes of Willow Tree and the others trembled. The blood in their bodies was also boiling. A powerful battle intent soared into the sky. That's right. Heaven's might can be defied, but a person's courage must not be lost. Whoosh! Rumble! At the same time, the cedars seemed to be infected by Qin Feiyang as they rose from the ground and flew toward Qin Feiyang. At the same time, a golden beast figure stood proudly at the top of the clouds. It was very small, only about a foot tall. Its entire body was shrouded in a golden light, and its original body couldn't be seen clearly. No aura could be sensed from its body. However, behind the golden beast figure, the guardian python was respectful and didn't have the slightest domineering expression. However, looking at Qin Feiyang below, the killing intent in its eyes was undisguised. Sir, did you see that? This person's actions are no longer ordinary arrogance. He is simply looking down on you and blaspheming the divine might of you and the Creator. This kind of ant shouldn't be allowed to continue living. The giant python said. He is indeed a little arrogant, but don't you think it's interesting? The golden beast figure said playfully. Interesting? The giant python was stunned. Yes. How many years has it been? Finally, there is a human who dares to challenge this emperor and the little emperor. What an interesting thing this is. The golden beast figure nodded. The giant python shook its head and said, this subordinate doesn't find it interesting. This is because you haven't reached the level of this emperor. Do you know what it feels like to be invincible? Boring, empty, lonely, feeling that this life has lost its meaning. The golden beast figure sighed. The giant python secretly rolled its eyes and said anxiously, "Sir, the Chang Shui and the castle in this child's hands are heaven-defying artifacts. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, I'm afraid he will really pose a threat to us. No matter how heaven-defying the artifact is, this emperor won't put it in his eyes. Let him slowly torment himself. This emperor wants to see how big of a wave he can create." After the golden beast figure finished speaking, it instantly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 1637. Qin Feiyang and the others had no idea about the appearance of the guardian and the golden beast shadow. Cedar trees from all directions flew towards Qin Feiyang in an endless stream. They were even shrinking. In the end, the cedar trees that were hundreds of feet tall all became as long as a finger. They were like small saplings, emitting a hazy divine light. An invisible will poured into Qin Feiyang's mind. These wills contained too many emotions. There was unwillingness. There was anger. There was determination. Qin Feiyang bowed and said, "Thank you for your trust in me. I, Qin Feiyang, will do what I say." Buzz. The cedar trees floating in the void all drilled into Qin Feiyang's body like a swarm of bees. Ning Mingyi was enraged and hurriedly shouted, "Young master, be careful." "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "They were born from the bodies of the predecessors. You can't let them stay in your body." Ning Mingyi said. "Yes. What if they take the opportunity to absorb your bloodline power? Don't you have an ancient castle? Let them go into your ancient castle." Willow Tree also said. Swish. Upon hearing their words, the cedar trees immediately flew to the front of the two of them and started shaking non-stop, as if they were protesting. Qin Feiyang glanced at the cedar trees, his eyes flickering. A moment later, he waved his hand and smiled, looked at Willow Tree and said, "They trust me, and I naturally trust them. I believe that they will definitely not hurt me. Come on." Qin Feiyang opened his hands, without the slightest doubt, with a face full of sincerity. Whoosh! At that moment, with the sound of breaking air, all the cedar trees turned into streams of light and drilled into Qin Feiyang's body. Boom! All of a sudden, a majestic life force rushed out from Qin Feiyang's body. At this moment, his entire body seemed to have turned into a spring of life. The plants around him were nourished by this life force and began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. A short while later, the small saplings grew into towering trees that were more than 100 feet tall. What's going on? Willow Tree and the others were bewildered. I understand. Shui Song has provided the young master with the vitality. In other words, they are telling us that not only will they not harm young master, they will even protect young master in times of crisis. Ning Mingyi said. I see. Willow Tree was suddenly enlightened. He smiled bitterly and said, "Why do I feel like I'm measuring the heart of a gentleman with my own mean measure?" Ning Mingyi also smiled bitterly. "Brother Qin, you've earned a lot. With the help of these cedars, he will have endless life force. In addition, these cedars have the ability of absolute defense. In the future, even false gods like us won't be able to get close to him." Li Yun smiled enviously. Willow Tree and Ning Mingyi also smiled. Only Zhuge Mingyang's face was filled with displeasure. Seeing Qin Feiyang getting stronger day by day, he felt very unbalanced in his heart. At the same time, Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and looked at the situation in his body. The cedars did not enter his sea of qi, but were all rooted in his meridians and flesh. At first glance, they looked like tiny light spots that were densely packed together, causing every inch of his flesh and every cell to glow. The huge vitality pervaded his limbs and bones, making him feel an indescribable carefree. Let's get along in the future. Qin Feiyang said with a smile in his mind. The dots of light flickered, as if responding to Qin Feiyang. Then, tens of thousands of cedars fell silent. The vitality that permeated from Qin Feiyang's body also quickly dissipated. You're really lucky. Zhuge Mingyang pursed his lips and said sourly. Lucky? Qin Feiyang sneered. What did this have to do with luck? It was his sincerity that touched these cedars. Whatever you say. I don't want to argue with you and waste my breath. Let's go. Qin Feiyang said lightly, then took out the castle and handed it to Willow Tree. You stay outside with the others and enter the castle when there's a crisis. Willow Tree was stunned and asked, what about you? Qin Feiyang said with a smile, of course I'll go into seclusion to comprehend the mysteries of becoming a god. Okay. Willow Tree nodded. After Qin Feiyang entered the castle, Willow Tree and the others immediately set off and flew toward the desert. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyang looked at Ling Yunfei and said with a smile, send me to your castle. Ling Yunfei said, you have to be mentally prepared in advance. The mysteries of becoming a god are not that easy to comprehend. I know. Qin Feiyang nodded, then looked at the Golden Wolf King and the Silver Wolf King, and said, you guys come with me too. Really? The two beasts looked at Qin Feiyang. Actually, they had also been comprehending the mysteries of becoming a god in the castle, but no one had given them any pointers and they didn't know where to start. They had also asked Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu. But because the Golden Wolf King had schemed against them many times in the past, the two of them ignored them. This made them very desperate. So at this moment, when they heard Qin Feiyang's words, they were overjoyed. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, as long as you guys are honest, I will not treat you unfairly. Don't worry. We will definitely be honest in the future. The two beasts hurriedly promised. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, then looked at Luo Qingzhu and the miss of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and asked suspiciously, what about you guys? Hasn't your cultivation reached the peak realm? Why are you still here? The miss of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion said, aren't we waiting for you? Come on. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Luo Qingzhu said, actually, we can't completely calm down, so we've been waiting here. Qin Feiyang asked curiously, then why are you unable to calm down? Luo Qingzhu said, Sister Rushuang is worried about her mother's comfort. As for me. At this point, Luo Qingzhu lowered her head, her cheeks slightly red. Sister Qingzhu, don't be embarrassed. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion teased. Luo Qingzhu said angrily, Sister. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion shook her head and smiled. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, me waiting for you is fake, but Sister Qingzhu waiting for you is real. Qin Feiyang was stunned. This was too sudden. He didn't know what to do for a moment. That, Ling Yunfei, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and bring us in. After stammering for a while, Qin Feiyang turned to Ling Yunfei and urged. How unromantic. Ling Yunfei pursed his lips and waved his hand. He brought Qin Feiyang, Luo Qingzhu, the miss of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and the Golden Wolf King to descend above a mountain. The mountains and rivers were majestic and magnificent. The mountain streams were lush with vegetation. Rivers flowed endlessly. By a certain river, Li Jian sat alone on the shore, holding a fishing rod made of willow tree branches in his hand, fishing quietly. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed beside Li Jian. He smiled and said, how's your harvest? Li Jian hurriedly stood up and said respectfully, greetings, young master. There's no need to be so polite here. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Looking at the fishing rod in Li Jian's hand, he was slightly stunned. He realized that the fishing rod in Li Jian's hand was not tied with a line. Qin Feiyang said in shock, how are you going to fish like this? What I'm fishing is not fish. Li Jian shook his head. Then what is it? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. It's the state of mind. Fishing is something that requires a lot of patience. Many people will feel irritated when they don't see a fish take the bait for a long time. Especially now like me. Without a fishing line, knowing that I can't catch a fish, I still have to sit here. The irritation in my heart will be even stronger. Therefore, I want to use this method to hone my patience and stabilize my temperament. When I'm completely used to it and won't feel the slightest bit of irritation, my heart will truly calm down. Li Jian smiled. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang nodded and turned to look at Ling Yunfei and the rest, saying with a smile, his method is really good. Ling Yunfei and the rest nodded one after another. Qin Feiyang asked, what about the Scorpion King and the other two beasts? I don't know. Li Jian shook his head. Aren't you guys together? How can you not know? Qin Feiyang was doubtful. Don't mention it. I asked them to fish with me, but these 4 guys left after staying for less than an hour, saying that it was too boring. So, you have to understand. Don't worry, there aren't that many blood-devouring bees. It'll be over soon. The Golden Wolf King and the Golden Wolf King snickered. The Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts looked at the swarm of blood-devouring bees that looked like a sea of blood and wanted to curse. That's not many. Ah! But before they could curse, more than 10 blood-devouring bees swarmed forward, waving their claws and hitting the heads of the 4 beasts. Be gentle. It hurts. The Ant Emperor roared. As long as you know the pain. Enjoy it. Qin Feiyang let out a cold snort. He turned his head to look at Ling Yunfei and asked, where are the divine infant tree, the tree of fortune, and the medicinal herbs we obtained from the divine ruins? Ling Yunfei glared at the Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts, then turned and pointed at a plain not far away. There. The group flew over. The plain was next to the canyon, covering an area of about 3 miles. The tree of creation, and countless herbs were planted in the center of the plain, shining with a hazy glow. A river ran through the entire plain. The river was clear, and both sides were green. Occasionally, a few blooming flowers could be seen. Qin Feiyang looked around and looked at Ling Yunfei and the others. He smiled and said, I think this place is not bad. Let's stay here from now on. Sure. Ling Yunfei nodded. Luo Qingzhu and the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House had no objections. What do you think about the mysteries of becoming a god? Luo Qingzhu asked. My mother once told me that the mysteries of becoming a god are only 12 words. As long as you understand these 12 words, success will follow naturally. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House said. Qin Feiyang said, don't forget your original intention, don't forget your heart, and only then can you achieve results. Is that right? Yes. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House nodded. Ling Yunfei said, Uncle Yuan told us the same. Then how do you understand these 12 words? Qin Feiyang asked. My understanding is that not forgetting one's original intention is to not forget the naivety and kindness before cultivation. In other words, childlike innocence. Not forgetting one's heart is to not forget one's duty as a human. Ling Yunfei said. I have the same idea as Ling Yunfei. Luo Qingzhu said. My opinion is a little different. I think that not forgetting one's original intention and not forgetting one's heart should be to not forget why we cultivate. That's because everyone has a dream or a wish before they step onto the path of cultivation. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House said. It doesn't sound wrong. Ling Yunfei nodded. No. I don't agree. Luo Qingzhu shook her head. Why? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House looked at her suspiciously. I'm sure. Everyone has a dream before they cultivate. But there are differences in dreams. Some want to protect their loved ones. Some do it for survival. Some do it for power. Some do it for money. There are also some who do it for revenge. Wait. I'm divided into two categories, good and evil. And according to my understanding, the original intention and heart should represent kindness. If according to what you said, not forgetting one's original intention and not forgetting one's heart is to not forget why we cultivate, then wouldn't that be encouraging the evil thoughts of those evil people? Luo Qingzhu said. What you said makes sense. Lin Yunfei nodded. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house did not refute. She turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, "What's your understanding?" Actually, I've been thinking about this question for a long time. I've also asked many people. For example, Uncle Yuan, Elder Qin, Second Grandpa. I remember that Second Grandpa once said something. Let go of everything and return to one's original intention and heart. According to my understanding. First of all, we have to calm ourselves down and slowly forget everything that happened in the past, as well as all the obsessions in our hearts. For example, greed, resentment, desire, ambition, and so on. It seems that someone once said with certainty that although my talent is good, it's impossible for me to become a god in this lifetime. The reason is that my obsession is too deep. I also admit this point. Otherwise, the inner demons wouldn't have been born. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Who said that? Lin Yunfei frowned. I forgot. It seems to be Mu Tianyang, the imperial preceptor, and Emperor Hong. But that's not important. The important thing is, how do we let go of these obsessions? After all, in everyone's heart, there is something that they can't give up. Some people are family, some people are hatred. There are too many, and it's hard to explain. Qin Feiyang said. The three of them fell silent. Don't forget your original intention, don't forget your original intention. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. What you said actually makes sense, but I feel that it's not deep enough. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House said, then what do you think is deeper? What does a newborn baby look like? Qin Feiyang asked back. A newborn baby? The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House was stunned and said, a newborn baby doesn't know anything, and doesn't even have self-awareness. Isn't it equivalent to a piece of blank paper? That's right. A person's life is originally a piece of pure white paper. The good and evil were filled in as they grew up, as they schemed against each other, as they killed, struggled, and sought survival. They were filled in one stroke at a time. Although this can make our lives colorful, under the temptation of desire, it will also make us lose our original intention and forget the innate purity that should belong to us. For example, the four of us. Our hearts are now stained with too much dust. And this dust is already deeply rooted and difficult to remove. And this so-called dust is the 7 emotions and 6 desires. I think that not forgetting our original intention and not forgetting our original intention should be for us to cut off the 7 emotions and 6 desires and return to this piece of blank paper. Qin Feiyang said. Cut off the 7 emotions and 6 desires, Ling Yunfei muttered, shook his head, and said with a bitter smile, who doesn't have the 7 emotions and 6 desires in this world? Cut off. It's easier said than done. That's right. It's easier said than done. Qin Feiyang sighed. He didn't know about the others. But he was very clear about himself. The obsession in his heart was too deep. He really didn't have the confidence or courage. There were some things that he couldn't let go of. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House had been in deep thought with her head lowered. Suddenly, she looked up at everyone and said, after listening to your words, I seem to have been enlightened. You guys chat first, I'll go into seclusion. With that, without waiting for Qin Feiyang and the others to respond, she quickly walked to the tree of creation, sat down cross-legged, and closed her eyes. So fast. Ling Yunfei was stunned. I seem to have caught a hint of inspiration too. You guys chat. Luo Qingzhu said and also walked to the side of the Miss of the Dragon Phoenix house. She sat cross-legged on the ground and closed her eyes to enter a meditative state. What's the situation with these two women? Could it be that their comprehension is better than the two of us? Ling Yunfei looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Maybe. Qin Feiyang smiled. Ling Yunfei pursed his lips and said, I won't admit defeat. I'll also go and think about it. You can slowly walk around by yourself. You're really impatient. Qin Feiyang shook his head. However, not forgetting his original intention, not forgetting his heart, was it really that simple? Although he felt that what he said before was very reasonable, he always felt that there should be something that he hadn't thought of. But what was it? He couldn't think of anything at all and had no idea where to start. He felt that this was already his limit. I don't want to think about it anymore. You haven't even calmed down, why are you still thinking about this? Aren't you just daydreaming? A moment later. Qin Feiyang shook his head and mocked himself. He raised his head and looked at Ling Yunfei and the other two, then strolled around. Chapter 1639. Time passed day by day. Qin Feiyang walked in the mountains all day, with green mountains and clear waters as neighbors, with the sun, moon, and stars as companions, but his heart could not calm down. On this day, he walked to Li Jian's side, looked at the fishing rod in Li Jian's hand, and asked, Is your heart calmed down? There are too many things in the world, how can I calm down? Li Jian shook his head and sighed. Yes. How can I calm down? Qin Feiyang nodded, went to find a willow branch, sat next to Li Jian, and quietly fished. This was a very dry thing. After sitting for less than an hour, he could not sit still anymore. Without a line or a fish hook, how could he fish? This was a huge test. No one, in the face of such a situation, could persist. But Qin Feiyang persevered. He tried to calm himself down and let himself sit here, but perhaps because it was too deliberate, he became more and more anxious. Several days passed. He put down the willow branch and left silently, found a secluded cliff, sat cross-legged on the edge of the cliff, did not think about anything, and let himself enter an ethereal state. After 3 or 4 days, he finally got rid of all distracting thoughts. However, although he got rid of all distracting thoughts, he still could not calm his heart. He could not figure out why. He remembered that when he was refining the recovery pill, he could quickly reach a state of mind like still water. Was it really because it was too deliberate? After pondering for a while, he closed his eyes again. But this time, he did not deliberately calm himself down. He was comprehending the 3,000 incarnations. He wanted to use this method to divert his attention. 3,000 incarnations was a very powerful divine art. It could condense 3,000 incarnations. Each incarnation had the same strength as the original body. Since he obtained these 3,000 incarnations, he had not properly comprehended them. First, there was no time. Second, the divine art was too profound, with his current comprehension, it was difficult to thoroughly comprehend, so he had been putting it aside. Now, the only thing he did not lack was time. Days passed. Finally, he opened his eyes, revealing a look of realization, and said, I see, 3,000 incarnations was different from other divine arts, divided into a total of 4 realms. Initial, small, great, and perfection. Condensing one incarnation was initial. Once he reached the small success stage, he would be able to form 1,000 clones. At the great success stage, he would be able to form 2,000 incarnations. Once it reached perfection, it would be able to condense a total of 3,000 incarnations. This divine incantation was heaven-defying. Especially towards the end, the stronger one's cultivation was, the more powerful the incarnation's cultivation would be. For example, Qin Feiyang. Once he broke through to the divine battle realm and unleashed 3,000 clones, together with his actual self, there would be 3001 Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was a little puzzled. Where did this Zhuge Mingyang obtain such a heaven-defying technique? State Preceptor. Emperor Hong. It was impossible. It wasn't that he looked down on the two of them, but that this kind of divine art was beyond their abilities. Furthermore, how could they be willing to give such a terrifying deity technique to Zhuge Mingyang when they themselves were in a hurry to cultivate it? Undying Demon Attack. 3,000 clones. There were also spatial divine objects that could fight against rule force. This Zhuge Mingyang was becoming more and more unfathomable. In the past, in his eyes, Mu Tianyang was the biggest threat. But now, Mu Tianyang was no longer a big deal. Zhuge Mingyang was the most worthy opponent. In fact, he was also very depressed in his heart. Why was his life so bumpy? First, it was Mu Tianyang, which gave him a headache. Now, Mu Tianyang hadn't been dealt with yet, and there was another Zhuge Mingyang. He was wondering if the heavens were joking with him. After he dealt with Zhuge Mingyang, would there be another existence that was even more terrifying than Mu Tianyang and Zhuge Mingyang? Just thinking about it gave him a headache. Qin Feiyang shook his head and continued to comprehend the 3,000 clones. Time flew. After an unknown number of days, the miss of the Dragon Phoenix house, who was sitting cross-legged under the tree of good fortune, slowly opened her eyes. That's not right. Although Qin Feiyang explained it very thoroughly, the profound meaning of becoming a god is far from that simple. But what exactly is it? She muttered to herself, her eyes full of confusion. Sigh. Luo Qingzhu sighed softly and also opened her eyes. Looking at the miss of the Dragon Phoenix house, she said, I can feel that Feiyang is already very close, but there is still something missing. Yes. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix house nodded. Then what exactly is missing? Ling Yunfei asked, also opening his eyes and looking at the two of them. I don't know. The two of them shook their heads. Ling Yunfei rubbed his head and said helplessly, what a headache. Uncle Yuan should have told us directly. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix house said, the profound meaning of becoming a god requires us to comprehend it ourselves. At most, others can only give us directions. Ling Yunfei took a deep breath, looked around, and asked doubtfully, where's Boss Qin? I didn't see him when I woke up. Luo Qingzhu shook her head. Ling Yunfei closed his eyes and carefully sensed for a while. He said speechlessly, so he went to hide by himself. Let's go take a look. The two girls nodded and stood up one after another. Ling Yunfei waved his hand, and the three of them immediately appeared at the edge of the cliff. They saw that Qin Feiyang's eyes were slightly closed, his expression serene, as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. Ling Yunfei was about to go up and call Qin Feiyang. Don't go. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix house suddenly reached out her hand to stop Ling Yunfei, and sent a sound transmission. With his vigilance, he should have noticed us the moment we arrived, but now he looks like he doesn't know anything. Ling Yunfei was startled, and thought to himself, you mean, he has already comprehended the profound meaning of becoming a god? I'm not sure. But it's possible. Don't disturb him. Let's take a look at the situation first. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix house sent a sound transmission. Ling Yunfei cursed in his heart, to comprehend it so thoroughly, this bastard really makes people envious. Then, the three of them also sat not far behind Qin Feiyang. While watching Qin Feiyang's situation, they silently cultivated. A few days later in the morning, a sudden change occurred. Beside Qin Feiyang, another Qin Feiyang suddenly appeared out of thin air. Ling Yunfei and the other two were bewildered. This Qin Feiyang who suddenly appeared, regardless of height, face, fat or thin, expression, was exactly the same as Qin Feiyang. It was as if they were carved from the same mold. Luo Qingzhu said, "Is it his inner demons?" "No, no. His inner demons are blood hair and blood pupils, and his entire body is filled with a fiendish aura. And now, this Qin Feiyang who has appeared, has black hair and black pupils, and his aura is exactly the same as Qin Feiyang's. So it's definitely not the inner demons." Ling Yunfei thought. Just as the two of them were secretly conversing, another Qin Feiyang appeared beside Qin Feiyang. 3 Qin Feiyang. The three of them were dumbfounded. Before they could regain their senses, a third Qin Feiyang appeared. What the hell is going on? Ling Yunfei was bewildered. Before he could finish his words. Beside Qin Feiyang, a fourth Qin Feiyang appeared. Following closely. One by one, Qin Feiyang appeared. In the end, there were a total of 99 Qin Feiyang standing in front of the three of them. Including Qin Feiyang's original body, there were a total of 100. Ling Yunfei said in a daze, "Damn, is this guy playing a clone game with us?" "A clone game?" Luo Qingzhu frowned, as if she had thought of something. Suddenly, the Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House thought, "It's the 3,000 incarnations." "That's right. It's the 3,000 incarnations." Luo Qingzhu quivered and also transmitted her voice. "So it's the 3,000 incarnations." Ling Yunfei suddenly realized. Many people knew that Qin Feiyang had snatched the 3,000 incarnations from Zhuge Mingyang, including them. But because Qin Feiyang had never used it before, they had all forgotten about it. Interesting. Ling Yunfei laughed sinisterly. He suddenly jumped up and slapped an incarnation with his palm. "Kid, are you looking for a beating?" The 99 incarnations turned around in unison, looked at Ling Yunfei, and said in unison. Moreover, the corners of his mouth curled up as he pursed his lips into a mocking smile. "Fuck. Even the tone and expression are the same." Ling Yunfei's face twitched, and said angrily, "That's right, this young master is looking for a beating, come and beat me up." "You go." "No, no, no, you go." "Why don't you go?" "I'm not going, you go." The group of incarnations started to argue, treating Ling Yunfei as heir. Ling Yunfei's face darkened, and said angrily, "Stop arguing, all of you attack together. If we attack together, you're finished." "That's right. Any one of us can beat you up like a dog." "Are you sure you want us to attack together?" The 99 incarnations looked at Ling Yunfei seriously, and asked in unison. Ling Yunfei's veins popped out, he was so angry that he stomped his feet and roared, "Can you guys not talk together? Don't stand together. I have trypophobia. Forget it, I'm at a disadvantage. I'll go." One of the incarnations shook his head, took a step forward, and hooked his finger at Ling Yunfei, saying, "Brat Ling, bring it on. Seal of Nirvana." Ling Yunfei roared, and directly evolved the divine art. "Scum." The incarnation disdainfully waved his hand in the air, and a golden light burst out, pouncing towards the seal of Nirvana. Boom! The seal of Nirvana spun in the air and charged towards Ling Yunfei. "This is the return formula." Ling Yunfei was stunned. "Yes." The incarnation nodded. "Fuck, this is too unreasonable. An avatar can actually use the Huan character formula." Ling Yunfei cursed and quickly dodged the attack of the seal of Nirvana. "It's not just the return formula. We know all the divine arts and methods of this sovereign." The 99 incarnations spoke again at the same time. "Ah." Ling Yunfei was stunned. "You don't believe me?" The 99 incarnations smiled proudly, and in an instant, all of them activated the battle and kill formula. Then, they evolved various divine arts. The 4 moves of the ruins of End. The 3 moves of the eclipse moon. The fire phoenix formula, and so on. Ling Yunfei was dumbfounded. When he came back to his senses, he hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Stop showing off, I believe you, I believe you." The 99 incarnations waved their hands, and all the divine arts disappeared in an instant. They also turned off the battle and kill formula. It was also at this moment. Another incarnation appeared beside Qin Feiyang out of thin air. This time, there were a total of 100 incarnations. 100 incarnations, equivalent to 100 Qin Feiyang, this is too exaggerated. This is simply shameless. Chapter 1640. Qin Feiyang finally opened his eyes, looked at Ling Yunfei and said, "We are not enemies, what are you afraid of? I feel sorry for your future enemies." Ling Yunfei rolled his eyes, glanced at the 100 incarnations, and waved his hand. "My trypophobia is about to act up, quickly get them to scram." Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly, waved his hand, and all the incarnations disappeared. Luo Qingzhu asked curiously, 3,000 incarnations, shouldn't there be 3,000 incarnations? Why are there only 100 now? This divine art also has levels. 100 incarnations is already my limit. Qin Feiyang said. Luo Qingzhu nodded in realization. Miss Longfeng said, "In other words, during this period of time, you have not comprehended the profound meaning of becoming a god." "No. I can't calm down. I originally wanted to use the method of comprehending the divine art to distract myself, but I didn't expect to be immersed in it. I completely forgot to comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. After the three of them heard this, they were speechless. "Wait. Forgot." But suddenly, Qin Feiyang was stunned, and then lowered his head, his face full of surprise. When he said that he had completely forgotten to comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god, a light suddenly flashed across his mind. However, he didn't catch it. However, he had a feeling that this sudden light had a lot to do with the profound meaning of becoming a god. "What's wrong with you?" Luo Qingzhu looked at him suspiciously. "Don't talk." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, lowered his head, and kept repeating that sentence, but that light never appeared again. What was it? He couldn't help but start to feel irritated. Haha, suddenly. A loud laugh sounded from afar. In the laughter, there was incomparable excitement and joy. But then, the laughter became somewhat crazy again, as if it was deranged. Is this Li Jian's laughter? What is he doing? Could it be that he sat by the river for too long and became stupid? Ling Yunfei was bewildered. Qin Feiyang also temporarily suppressed the irritation in his heart. He raised his head and looked in Li Jian's direction, his brows tightly knitted. Hearing this laughter, it didn't sound like a fool. It sounded more like he had gone berserk. Don't just stand there and watch. Let's go and see what's going on. If something really happens, we can help him in time. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House said. Quick! Qin Feiyang looked at Ling Yunfei and urged. Ling Yunfei waved his hand, and the four of them immediately appeared behind Li Jian. They saw Li Jian standing by the river, laughing madly towards the sky. He couldn't have really gone mad, could he? Ling Yunfei whispered. Li Jian, what are you doing? Don't scare us. Luo Qingzhu said anxiously. Li Jian stopped laughing and turned to look at the three of them. Without saying a word, he sat by the river again, holding onto the willow branch and fishing silently. This, Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, and Miss Longfeng looked at each other. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Jian's back and muttered in his heart, could it be that you have already comprehended a deeper level of profoundness? Li Jian, can't you see that we are all concerned about you? Say something. Ling Yunfei said angrily. Don't disturb him. Qin Feiyang said. What's wrong? Ling Yunfei was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said meaningfully, whether we can become gods or not, we might have to rely on him. Rely on him? Ling Yunfei was stunned and said in surprise, "What do you mean?" I think he has already comprehended a deeper level of profoundness." Qin Feiyang nodded. Luo Qingzhu and Miss Longfeng's eyes lit up. Ling Yunfei was stunned when he heard this and said, "This guy's comprehension is not bad. Why don't we fish with him here? Everyone has their own opinions and methods. We don't have to learn from him, but we can try." Qin Feiyang said. "Then I'll give it a try." Ling Yunfei also found a willow branch and sat not far away from Li Jian, fishing quietly. "Sister Rushuang, what about us?" Luo Qingzhu looked at Miss Longfeng. Miss Longfeng thought for a moment and said with a smile, "Since we don't have any clues now, we might as well give it a try." "Okay." Luo Qingzhu nodded. The two of them also did the same. They found a willow branch and sat on the riverbank, looking at the clear river water, their eyes calm. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He turned around and soared into the sky, flying towards the canyon. "Damn it, it's already been half a month. How long are you going to beat him up? I'm telling you, don't go too far." Before they got close to the canyon, they heard the angry roars of the Scorpion King and the other two beasts. Half a month? So fast? Qin Feiyang was surprised. It didn't feel like that long. It was true that time did not exist in cultivation. "Boss Qin, you're here." Seeing Qin Feiyang, the Golden Wolf King and Silver Wolf King immediately ran up and smiled flatteringly. Qin Feiyang asked, "It's not over yet? There are so many blood-devouring bees. I estimate that it'll take at least half a month." Golden Wolf King said. Qin Feiyang nodded and walked to the front of the Crocodile King and the other two beasts. "Boss, I beg you, ask them to stop. If this continues, we'll really be crippled." The four beasts quickly begged. Qin Feiyang said expressionlessly, "Then do you know your mistakes?" "Yes, yes, yes." The four beasts nodded like they were pounding garlic. "Do you remember?" Qin Feiyang asked again. "Yes. I won't forget for the rest of my life." The four beasts said. "This is considered a light punishment. If there's a next time, I'll directly cripple you." Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. "Yes, yes, yes. There won't be a next time. We promise." The four beasts made a solemn vow. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed and said, "You guys came in with Li Jian, but do you know? Li Jian is about to comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god." "What?" The Crocodile King and the other two beasts' eyes trembled. It was actually so fast. There's a good saying, "You'll only get what you pay." Do you think that you can become a god by enjoying yourself here all day long? How can there be such a good thing? Anyway, don't wait until everyone becomes a god and you guys are still playing here. At that time, it's not me who wants to give up on you guys, but you guys who gave up on yourselves." Qin Feiyang said. "Boss is right, we will definitely work hard." The four beasts lowered their heads in shame. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "Don't forget this lesson, go." "Where to?" The four beasts were suspicious. However, Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to him and remained motionless. He felt as if he was possessed. "What's the situation?" The Crocodile Emperor, the four beasts, the Golden Wolf King brothers, and the surrounding blood-devouring bees all looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Forget, Qin Feiyang muttered. Just now, when he said, "Don't forget this lesson," the light in his mind appeared again. And this time, he clearly caught it. This spiritual light came from the word forget. Forget, haha, so that's how it is. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's face revealed a look of realization, and he couldn't help but laugh. What and what? Boss Qin isn't crazy, is he? The beasts became more and more puzzled. Qin Feiyang grabbed Scorpion King and said excitedly, everything in the world comes from nothing, from something to nothing. No self, there is self, then to know self, and finally to forget self. What no self? There is me. Forget self. What the hell? Scorpion King was dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang said, before we were born, we didn't exist. Yes. Scorpion King nodded. This is no self. After we were born, we had life, consciousness, and life. This is called there is me. When we die, we will return to no self. In the end, we will be slowly forgotten by the world, and no one will remember us anymore, Qin Feiyang said, getting more and more excited. That's it. This is a process of life. Scorpion King nodded. It still understood this logic. A process of life, Qin Feiyang murmured and laughed, that's right, no self, forget self, this is the true essence of becoming a god. He immediately turned around and disappeared into the vast mountains like lightning. No self. Forget self. The true essence of becoming a god. Scorpion King, the four beasts, and the Golden Wolf King brothers looked at each other. Quickly catch up. Following closely. The Crocodile Emperor roared, and the beasts chased after Qin Feiyang. Although they did not understand what Qin Feiyang was talking about. But the true essence of becoming a god, as long as one was not an idiot, one could understand. Qin Feiyang must have mastered the profound meaning of becoming a god. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. Whoosh! By the river. Qin Feiyang was like a stream of light, landing beside Li Jian, and said, what you comprehended before was, but before he could say anything, Li Jian made a shushing gesture to him and said, young master, this can only be understood, not spoken. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, your comprehension is really good, it seems that it won't be long before I have another fake god by my side. How long did I comprehend, and how long did you comprehend? In terms of comprehension, compared to you, young master, I am thousands of miles away. Li Jian sighed. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. What are you talking about? What can only be understood, but not spoken? Feiyang, did you also comprehend something? Don't keep us in suspense, tell us quickly. Ling Yunfei and the other two were at the side, looking at the mysterious Qin Feiyang and Li Jian, as if 100 claws were scratching their hearts. Boss Qin has just comprehended the true meaning of becoming a god. At this moment, the Scorpion Emperor and the other beasts rushed over. What? Ling Yunfei and the other two trembled. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix House was immediately dissatisfied, comprehending but hiding it, Feiyang, this is not how you are. Qin Feiyang smiled but did not say anything. The Golden Wolf King asked, Boss Qin, no self, forget self, what does it mean? No self, forget self. Ling Yunfei and the other two were stunned. Yes. This is what Boss Qin said when he was in an epiphany. No self, forget self, is the true meaning of becoming a god. The Scorpion Emperor and the other 6 beasts nodded. This is the true meaning of becoming a god. No self. Forget self. Could it be the realm of no self and the realm of forgetting self? Ling Yunfei looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Jian in surprise. Qin Feiyang and Li Jian looked at each other and smiled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, it's not that simple, you guys slowly comprehend it, it's useless to say it. With that, he turned and left alone. Chapter 1641. Let's talk about Willow Tree and the other 3. After half a month of non-stop travel, they had already gone deep into the desert. There were storms all around, sweeping up yellow sand all over the sky. The wind blades sliced across their bodies like sharp blades. The storms here were enough to threaten a war emperor. However, apart from the storms, they didn't encounter any other dangers. Along the way, they didn't see any traces of beasts. Li Yun said, Brother Ning, do you remember the situation when we came to the desert last time? I remember. Ning Mingi nodded and said worriedly, although the storms here can't threaten us, even we can't withstand the deeper storms. Yes. I really don't understand, why does Brother Qin want to go to the end of the desert? Willow Tree, you are now deeply trusted by Qin Feiyang. He even gave you the castle and Chang Shui. Do you know the reason? Li Yun turned to look at Willow Tree and asked suspiciously. I don't know. Willow Tree shook his head. You really don't know? Li Yun didn't believe it. I really don't know. Willow Tree smiled bitterly. However, although he didn't know, he could roughly guess that it should have something to do with leaving the Black Tortoise realm. Zhuge Mingyang, who was at the side, did not say a word. He seemed to be deep in thought. He was undoubtedly thinking about this problem. But suddenly, he looked at the storm in front of him on the left, and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. Just now, he keenly caught a black shadow in the void, but before he could see it clearly, the shadow disappeared into the storm. What is it? He muttered in his heart and didn't say anything. He secretly became vigilant. Willow Tree and the other two were chatting, so they didn't notice anything unusual. The four of them continued to go deeper. Zhuge Mingyang kept looking at the storm, but the black shadow never appeared again. It was as if it didn't exist at all. This made him wonder if it was an illusion. It wasn't until they were far away from the storm that he retracted his gaze and scanned the void in front of him. Yellow sand filled the sky. Other than the sound of the wind, there was no other sound. The air was dry and stuffy. He couldn't help but feel irritated. Suddenly, Zhuge Mingyang's eyes abruptly turned to look at a windstorm 50 to 60 miles away. The storm had a diameter of more than 10 meters, and it was howling. Just a moment ago, he had caught sight of a black shadow that had entered the storm like a bolt of lightning. Looks like it wasn't an illusion. There really is a problem. Zhuge Mingyang narrowed his eyes and locked onto the storm. Zhuge Mingyang was following behind Willow Tree's trio. In addition, Zhuge Mingyang hadn't said a word since the beginning, so the trio didn't notice the change in Zhuge Mingyang's expression. A moment later, the three of them directly flew past the storm. However, when Zhuge Mingyang passed by the storm, he suddenly exploded and shouted, I want to see what kind of monster you are. He took a step forward, and his quasi-divinity power roared in all directions, instantly vanquishing the storm. Willow Tree's trio was startled when they heard Zhuge Mingyang's shout. They hurriedly stopped and turned to look. They saw Zhuge Mingyang standing in the void, scanning the area in front of him. His eyes were shining with a terrifying light. However, there was nothing in the void in front of Zhuge Mingyang. Willow Tree asked suspiciously, What are you doing? What's going on? Why is there no black shadow? Zhuge Mingyang murmured, and his eyebrows gradually knitted together. If he had only seen it once, it would be reasonable to say that it was an illusion. However, seeing it twice in a row, it would be unreasonable to say that it was an illusion. However, there was indeed nothing in front of him. Seeing Zhuge Mingyang's silence, Li Yun said angrily, Zhuge Mingyang, what did you find? Don't be so startled. Can you scare us? Zhuge Mingyang glanced at the void and waved his hand with a smile. It's nothing. Let's continue. Crazy. Willow Tree's trio glared at him, then turned back and continued moving forward. Zhuge Mingyang also quickly followed, but his eyes were always looking behind him. For some reason, he began to feel uneasy. He kept feeling that there was something hidden around him. However, after galloping for tens of thousands of miles, nothing unexpected happened. The black shadow also seemed to have disappeared from the world. It seems that I've been under too much pressure recently, and my nerves are a little messed up. Seeing that the black shadow did not appear again, Zhuge Mingyang rubbed his forehead and muttered to himself. He also slowly relaxed his vigilance. Whoosh! In front, a few storms swept over, rolling up sand waves that were dozens and hundreds of meters high, covering the sky and the earth. This was common in the desert. If one was weak, one would avoid it. If one was strong, one would directly crush it. Willow Tree's trio obviously belonged to the latter. Li Yun led the way, and a terrifying divine power swept over. Boom! The storms were annihilated on the spot. The four did not take it to heart. However, at the same time that the storms were annihilated, a few black shadows suddenly jumped out of the storms, like ghosts, silently and directly entered between Li Yun's eyebrows. What the hell is that? Li Yun turned pale with fright. Willow Tree and Ning Mingi were also shocked. It's really not an illusion. Zhuge Mingyang glanced around, and his eyes flickered. He had just relaxed, but now he immediately became vigilant. Because from the previous situation, there should be more than these mysterious black shadows in the desert. Ah, what are you? Get out of my head, the next moment. Li Yun held his head and roared. His face was contorted in pain. Brotherly, are you okay? Ning Mingi and Willow Tree hurried forward and asked with concern. Although the two were opponents in the past, the situation was different now. Everyone was on the same boat. If someone was in trouble, they definitely could not sit back and do nothing. Get out of here, do you hear me, however? In the face of Willow Tree and Ning Mingi's inquiry, Li Yun turned a deaf ear and kept roaring. The two looked at each other, hurriedly took a step forward, and turned to look at Li Yun. When they saw Li Yun's situation at the moment, the two suddenly turned pale with fright. They saw that Li Yun's facial features had already been distorted. Blood vessels burst out from under his skin. They looked like earthworms wriggling under Li Yun's skin, making one's scalp numb. Moreover, wisps of black mist constantly emerged from the two eyeballs, like ink, and instantly soaked the whites of the two eyeballs. Finally, the whites of the two eyes turned pitch black. They couldn't even find where the eyeballs were. What's wrong with him? Willow Tree was surprised and bewildered. Zhuge Mingyang stepped forward to see this scene, and couldn't help but feel creeped out. He secretly warned, it's a little strange, be careful. But before his voice died away, Li Yun suddenly looked up and stared at the three of them. That distorted face covered with blood vessels was extremely ferocious. And from his mouth, there was a sound. A sinister laugh. Boom! The next moment, he raised his hands, clenched his 5 fingers into fists, and the power of the false god rolled out, blasting towards the three of them. Retreat! Ning Mingi shouted. The three of them retreated like lightning. Willow Tree said angrily, Li Yun, what are you doing? But Li Yun still turned a deaf ear to it, and used the auxiliary technique to quickly chase after the three of them. Black shadows, Zhuge Mingyang murmured. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and said in surprise, could it be that his consciousness is controlled by those black shadows? Control. Willow Tree and Ning Mingi's eyes trembled. What could control Li Yun's consciousness? One had to know. Li Yun was a false god, and a stage 10 false god. Boom! Just as the three of them were surprised, Li Yun actually used the divine technique, and a terrifying destructive force rushed towards the three of them. Zhuge Mingyang shouted, we can't retreat anymore, we have to stop him. How do we stop him? Do we have to kill him? Willow Tree asked. It depends. I'll deal with him, you guys pay attention to the situation around, I suspect that there are still those mysterious black shadows around. Zhuge Mingyang said in a deep voice. There are more. Willow Tree and Ning Mingi were shocked and quickly looked around, their eyes full of vigilance. At the same time, Zhuge Mingyang rushed towards Li Yun. Roar! Facing the unknown situation, he decisively activated his battle soul to end the battle quickly. A huge bone dragon roared out from behind him. The dragon's aura shook the sky. Immediately after, an invisible aura surged out, instantly enveloping all directions. This was his special ability. Destruction. Li Yun's cultivation immediately began to plummet. As Li Yun's cultivation fell, the power of the divine technique continued to weaken. In the blink of an eye, Li Yun's cultivation fell to 7-star combat emperor. Shatter. At this moment, Zhuge Mingyang shouted angrily and punched the divine technique. With a loud bang, the divine technique collapsed on the spot. Without stopping, he rushed towards Li Yun like lightning and slammed his palm on Li Yun's chest. Crack. With the sound of bones breaking, Li Yun's chest suddenly caved in, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Even his heart was torn apart. His entire body was like a meteorite, smashing into the desert below. What's going on? Willow Tree and Ning Mingi, who were not far away, looked at the blood splattering in the void as if they had seen a ghost. The blood flowing out of Li Yun's body was actually black. Could it be that he had been demonized by the Black Shadow? Zhuge Mingyang also frowned. Roar. Suddenly, a beast-like roar came from the bottom of the desert, shaking the sky. The three of them hurriedly looked over and saw Li Yun rushing out of the yellow sand. There was no sign of weakness on his ferocious face. His chest was still bleeding. However, he seemed to be unable to feel any pain. He doesn't even feel anything. Zhuge Mingyang murmured. His eyes were suddenly filled with murderous intent. The grayish-white false god power surged out like a tide and turned into a giant hand that covered the sky. It floated in the sky and emitted a demonic power that could destroy the world. Divine technique. Ning Mingi's eyes trembled. He hurriedly looked at Willow Tree and said, "He wants to kill. Shouldn't we stop him?" Willow Tree looked at Li Yun and said in a low voice, "If he has really demonized, then killing him is the wisest choice." Ning Mingi fell silent. "Li Yun, if you don't wake up, don't blame me for being merciless," Zhuge Mingyang shouted. However, Li Yun did not wake up. Instead, he became even crazier. With a loud clang, the azure light sword appeared. He grabbed the azure light sword. The false god power and chi and blood surged out as he desperately tried to recover. Chapter 1642. You actually used your chi and blood to revive the artifact, it seems that you are hopeless. Heavenly Demon Hand, kill. Zhuge Mingyang roared angrily, and the giant hand suspended in the air, like a mountain, suddenly fell down. Divine power rolled in all directions. Clang. At the same time, Li Yun waved the azure light sword and slashed it. Thousands of sword lights were like a waterfall, tearing the sky. Now, he was out of the range of Zhuge Mingyang's supernatural ability. Therefore, his cultivation had been restored to the pseudo-god realm. With the peak cultivation, coupled with the power of the pseudo-god and chi and blood at the same time, the power of the azure light sword was terrifying. Boom! The heavenly demon hand and the sword light collided with a loud bang, the void collapsed, the desert sank, and the wind swept through the world. Willow Tree and Li Yun couldn't help but retreat. After the two were in a stalemate for a few breaths, the sword light gradually gained the upper hand. Courting death. Zhuge Mingyang was stunned. The bone dragon above roared and swooped down like lightning. Li Yun was once again shrouded by the supernatural ability. His cultivation rapidly plummeted. The power of the azure light sword also plummeted. How is this possible? His supernatural ability can not only suppress the divine arts, but also the artifact. Willow Tree was shocked. It is indeed terrifying. No wonder even the young master is so afraid of him. Ning Mingi nodded. Boom! The power of the azure light sword was suppressed, and the heavenly demon hand instantly turned the situation around, crushing down with irresistible force. Seeing that the situation was not good, Li Yun wanted to retreat. But it was too late. The heavenly demon hand fell, and the demonic power shook the world. The desert below caved in, forming a huge handprint. Why did you do this to me? Suddenly, Li Yun looked up at Zhuge Mingyang and said angrily. The blackness in his eyes receded like the tide. The bulging blood vessels on his face also quickly disappeared, and his facial features returned to normal. He didn't seem to be the slightest bit different. Seeing this, Zhuge Mingyang raised his eyebrows. Li Yun looked at the Willow Tree duo and shouted, "Willow Tree, Brother Ning, why are you still standing there? Come and help me." Willow Tree and Yi Zichen looked at each other. Had everything returned to normal? When he came back to his senses, Willow Tree quickly shouted, "Zhuge Mingyang, stop." Zhuge Mingyang glanced at the Willow Tree and then at Li Yun. With a wave of his hand, the heavenly devil's hand disintegrated. The bone dragon fighting soul also dissipated in the void. The Willow Tree duo flew in front of Li Yun and asked suspiciously, "Are you sure you're all right now? What problem can I have?" Li Yun rolled her eyes at them. But suddenly, she looked stunned and frowned. "Wait, there seems to be a problem." As soon as the Willow Tree duo heard this, they immediately retreated to Zhuge Mingyang's side, their faces full of vigilance. "What are you doing? Am I that scary?" "I said there's a problem, not with me, but with those shadows from before," Li Yun said helplessly. "Tell me," Willow Tree said. "After those shadows got into my sea of consciousness, they went straight to my soul, and then I lost consciousness." Li Yun frowned. "Straight to the soul?" The Willow Tree trio looked at each other and frowned. "Yes. They seem to want to swallow my soul," Li Yun said. "Isn't this equivalent to possession?" Ning Mingi said. "Could it be?" Willow Tree seemed to have thought of something. Her body suddenly trembled, and she looked at the void around her in surprise. "What is it?" The three of them looked at her suspiciously. "Undead," Willow Tree said word by word, with a trace of fear in his eyes. "Undead." As soon as Zhuge Mingyang heard these two words, a light flashed in the depths of his eyes. "Are there really undead in this desert? But it's impossible. The last time Brother Ning and I were in this desert, we stayed for half a year, but we didn't see a single undead," Li Yun said. "Yes." Ning Mingi nodded. Willow Tree said, "If it's not the undead, then how do you explain what happened before? Why don't we inform the young master and let him come out and take a look?" Ning Mingi said. "You're also an experienced person. Don't you know that you can't be disturbed when you're comprehending the profound meaning of becoming a god?" Willow Tree raised his eyebrows, his tone a little angry. Ning Mingi smiled embarrassedly. Willow Tree said, "Whether it's the undead or not, at least the crisis has been resolved now. There's no need to alarm the young master. As for the future, we'll have to be careful." Li Yun and Ning Mingi nodded. Willow Tree said, "Let's go." Li Yun flew to the three of them and continued to move forward. However, as he flew, Li Yun suddenly attacked and slapped towards Zhuge Mingyang. Her face, which had returned to normal, was instantly covered with crooked blood vessels. The whites of his eyes had turned black once again. Zhuge Mingyang was standing next to her. It was so sudden that it could be said that no one could react. However, Zhuge Mingyang reacted in time. He pursed his lips with a hint of ridicule, raised his arm like lightning, and blasted out a palm. The two big hands met with a bang, and the power of a pseudo-god erupted. Puff! Li Yun immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. On the other hand, Zhuge Mingyang only took a few steps back. Although Li Yun had reached the 10th stage of the pseudo-god realm, Zhuge Mingyang's pseudo-god realm was naturally stronger than others. It was completely enough to make up for these gaps. Even suppress This was the terrifying part of Zhuge Mingyang's pseudo-god realm power. Willow Tree and Li Yun looked back, and their eyes were filled with murderous intent. How dare he lie to them? Unforgivable anger. Kill! Ning Mingi shouted, and his divine power rolled out, and his hair fluttered in anger. The three of them rushed towards Li Yun at the same time. Seeing this, Li Yun immediately turned around and flew away. Willow Tree chased while thinking, Zhuge Mingyang, how did you find out that he hasn't returned to normal? There are only two ways to return to normal after being controlled by those dirty things. Either expel them from the sea of consciousness, or destroy them. But before this, did you see those black shadows coming out of his sea of consciousness? As for the latter, if Li Yun was the one who destroyed them, there's no way he wouldn't have mentioned it earlier. However, he didn't say anything. What does this mean? It means that he is still being controlled by those dirty things. I'm puzzled. You are antiques who have lived for tens of thousands of years. Why can't you see this? I can't figure out why Qin Feiyang likes idiots like you. Zhuge Mingyang sneered. Hearing this, the two of them were angry and ashamed. Ning Mingi stared at Li Yun's back and said angrily, you made me be mocked. See if I don't destroy you today. Willow Tree even took out Chang Shui. Roar! At the same time, Zhuge Mingyang activated his fighting soul again. The bone dragon roared in the sky. His supernatural power reappeared. An invisible aura, like a huge wave, rushed toward Li Yun. A trace of panic appeared on Li Yun's face. When the invisible aura rushed over, Li Yun's cultivation fell directly, and his speed was also greatly reduced. Willow Tree and Ning Mingi chased after him in the blink of an eye, both of them were murderous. Zhuge Mingyang raised the corner of his mouth and shouted, smash his head. Don't let those dirty things escape. Okay. The two of them nodded. Ning Mingi punched the back of Li Yun's head. Willow Tree grabbed Chang Shui and stabbed toward Li Yun's head. Yes. Smash and stab like this. Behind him, Zhuge Mingyang's face was full of smiles. Whoosh! But suddenly, a few black lights flashed from Li Yun's head. It was the few black shadows. Seeing this, Willow Tree and Ning Mingi retracted their fists and Chang Shui, and turned to attack the few black shadows. The black shadows left the sea of consciousness, and Li Yun immediately stopped in the void, looking confused. As for Zhuge Mingyang, when he saw Li Yunhe and the few black shadows, his face was filled with anger. He shouted, stop chasing. Willow Tree and Ning Mingi braked and turned to look at Zhuge Mingyang suspiciously. If they are really undead, then they can't escape from my hands. Zhuge Mingyang smiled coldly. He waved his hand. Whoosh! A small black flag appeared in front of him. The small flag was the size of a palm, and black fog surged all over it. There was a totem on it that looked like a giant dragon, but it had 9 heads, and it emitted a shocking murderous aura. But the most terrifying thing was the small flag itself. It was like a peerless demon king that had been sealed for a long time was born. As soon as it appeared, the sky changed color, and the clouds surged. The black fog was like a demonic aura, enveloping all directions. Willow Tree and Ning Mingi could not help but feel cold all over. Li Yun also quivered, and the confusion in her eyes dissipated. She turned to look at the small flag in front of Zhuge Mingyang, and her face was full of horror. Although they did not know what the small flag was, it gave them a fatal sense of danger. And this sense of danger came from the depths of their hearts and souls. Zhuge Mingyang looked at the small flag as if he was looking at a relative, and said with a smile, go. Whoosh! The small flag suddenly turned into a black light, and cut through the sky. In less than 2 blinks of an eye, it caught up with the few black shadows. Then, a scene that shocked Willow Tree and the other two appeared. The black fog emitted by the small flag rushed toward the few black shadows. And when the few black shadows were shrouded by the black fog, they immediately screamed in horror. That scream was like a ghost, sharp and ear-piercing. They struggled desperately to get rid of the black fog, but the black fog was like gangrene attached to the bone. Once it stuck to them, they could not get rid of it. Gradually, the few black shadows dissipated, merged into the black fog, and became a part of the black fog. It's really the undead. Zhuge Mingyang murmured. Whoosh! Then, the small flag turned in the air, flew in front of Zhuge Mingyang, and disappeared directly between Zhuge Mingyang's eyebrows. The three swallowed their saliva. Li Yun looked at Willow Tree and Zhuge Mingyang, and asked, "What happened just now? Why don't I remember anything?" "You don't remember anything?" Willow Tree was surprised. "Yes. After those black shadows entered my sea of consciousness, I lost consciousness immediately." After Li Yun finished speaking, she felt a pain in her chest. Looking down, she was furious and roared, "Who did this?" "Me." Zhuge Mingyang said. "You." Li Yun was stunned and said angrily, "Why did you do this? Do I have a grudge against you?" "Calm down, calm down." Willow Tree and Ning Mingi quickly flew over and explained the situation in detail. "There's actually such a thing." Chapter 1643. It's the undead. Zhuge Mingyang said. "What? Undead?" Li Yun's expression changed. Willow Tree asked, "How can you be so sure?" "Because of the Sky Devil flag. The Sky Devil flag devours the undead as food. Previously, those black shadows were all devoured by the Sky Devil flag, which proves that they are the undead." Zhuge Mingyang said. "Sky Devil flag feeds on the undead?" The three of them looked at each other. Why did it sound so creepy? Ning Mingi said, "You mean that the small flag you took out just now can devour the undead?" "Yes." Zhuge Mingyang nodded. Ning Mingi said again, "Does that mean that the more undead it devours, the stronger the power of the Sky Devil flag will be? Does this have anything to do with you? Ask this and that." Zhuge Mingyang raised his eyebrows, looking extremely impatient. The three of them felt a chill in their hearts. Although Zhuge Mingyang did not admit it, he did not deny it either. It seemed that they had to be more vigilant when they were with this person in the future. "Wait." Suddenly, Willow Tree raised his eyebrows and looked up at Zhuge Mingyang, with a trace of anger in his eyes. "What are you doing?" Zhuge Mingyang frowned. "Since the Sky Devil flag can devour the undead, why don't you use the Sky Devil flag to suppress those undead? Instead, you want us to kill Li Yun?" Willow Tree said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Ning Mingi also came to his senses and looked at Zhuge Mingyang unkindly. Li Yun, on the other hand, had a suspicious look on her face. Willow Tree shouted, "Say it." "Okay, I'll say it." Zhuge Mingyang raised the corner of his mouth and said lightly, "I'm doing this because I want to borrow your hands to get rid of Li Yun." "Sure enough. Why did you do that? We are now grasshoppers tied to the same rope. Shouldn't we work together?" Willow Tree said angrily. "Why? The Vanga League has submitted to Qin Feiyang. Although Fengtian Palace didn't submit, it's not that far from it. His forces are growing stronger and stronger. If I have the chance to make him lose his soldiers, why wouldn't I do it?" Zhuge Mingyang laughed. Ning Mingi said angrily, "You really are a despicable person. I have never denied this, but you have to admit that a villain is better than a hypocrite." Zhuge Mingyang said. "Humph." Willow Tree snorted and said, "You haven't gotten to the point yet." Zhuge Mingyang's pupils shrank as he asked in confusion, "What's the main point?" If Ning Mingi and I had really killed Li Yun before, the others in Fengtian Palace would definitely regard us as mortal enemies. In that case, not only would our cooperation with Fengtian Palace be terminated, but we would also suffer from their crazy revenge. You're simply provoking the flames of war between us. You deserve death. Willow Tree shouted. Haha, Zhuge Mingyang laughed and said, it seems that you are not an idiot after all. No wonder Qin Feiyang thinks so highly of you. Cut the crap. Since you are so heartless, don't blame us for being unrighteous. From now on, don't follow us anymore. Willow Tree said. Yes. Let's go our separate ways. People like you are a disaster if we keep you around. Ning Mingyi and Li Yun also said, their eyes full of disgust. Are you sure? Zhuge Mingyang smiled playfully. Yes. The three of them nodded. Then tell me, what will you do in the face of the undead? I can tell you responsibly that without my help, you will never reach the end of the desert. Zhuge Mingyang sneered. You don't need to worry about that. You have the Sky Demon flag, and we also have Chang Shui. Your Sky Demon flag may not be as powerful as Chang Shui. If you don't believe me, you can try. Willow Tree grabbed Chang Shui and pointed at Zhuge Mingyang, his eyes flashing coldly. Zhuge Mingyang glanced at Pale Snow and shrugged. He said helplessly, all right, it's my fault this time. I apologize to you all. I promise that I will work together with you all in the future to overcome the difficulties. This, Willow Tree looked at Ning Mingyi and Li Yun, unable to make up his mind for a moment. Forget it. Just let him stay here. Li Yun sighed. In fact, it's useless even if we drive him away now. Because he has a spatial divine object. He's been following us, and we can't do anything to him. Besides, he's right. His Sky Demon flag can devour the undead, which is of great help to us. In fact, it's a relatively good thing to keep him by our side. Because at least we can see him, and if he wants to play any tricks, we can be on guard. But if he hides in a spatial divine object, it's really impossible to guard against him. Ning Mingyi transmitted his voice. Willow Tree thought for a moment and felt that it made sense. He looked at Zhuge Mingyang and said, okay, I take back what I said before, but you have to swear that you won't plot against us again. Okay. I swear, if I plot against you again, I'll be destroyed by heaven and earth. Zhuge Mingyang said. He was very calm. I hope you can keep your oath. Willow Tree took a deep look at him, put away Chang Shui, and said, you go ahead. I go ahead. What if you guys plot against me behind my back? Zhuge Mingyang raised his eyebrows and said. Willow Tree said, we're not villains like you. Zhuge Mingyang shook his head helplessly, turned into a stream of light, brushed past the three of them, and then rushed into the depths of the desert without looking back. Willow Tree and the other two looked at each other and followed closely. Next. Zhuge Mingyang really became well-behaved. He never did anything to hurt anyone again. And he also worked very hard to stop the storm and suppress the undead. But as the saying goes, once bitten, twice shy. No matter how Zhuge Mingyang behaved, Willow Tree and the other two did not dare to let down their guard. In the blink of an eye. Another half a month passed. Everyone had been in the desert for a whole month. In this half a month, the three of them had been attacked by the undead repeatedly. The number of undead was as many as 50 to 60. But without exception, these undead were all swallowed by the Sky Demon flag. Strange. Li Yun and Ning Mingyi had been pondering about a problem along the way. In the past, they had joined hands to enter the desert, and after half a year, they had not encountered a single undead. But now, they had only been in the desert for a month, and they had already been ambushed by the undead. This was too strange. One day, Ning Mingyi suddenly thought of something and said, could it be that the Guardian is behind this again? His words woke them up. Willow Tree, Li Yun, and Zhuge Mingyang were suddenly enlightened. This matter definitely had something to do with the guardian. Because only it could control the undead in the desert. In other words, this journey would no longer be peaceful. However, compared to the worries of Willow Tree and the other two, Zhuge Mingyang's performance was a little excited. Traveling in the desert was a very boring and tedious thing. Even if one stayed for a long time, they would unknowingly forget the time. Day by day, month by month. On this day, Zhuge Mingyang suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Willow Tree and the other two behind him also immediately stopped and looked at him warily. Although it had been a long time since the last incident, they had never let down their guard against Zhuge Mingyang. Zhuge Mingyang was silent. He took off his shirt and looked down at his chest, frowning. Seeing this, Willow Tree and the other two were curious and ran to Zhuge Mingyang to take a look. Their faces suddenly changed. They saw that there was a skull pattern on Zhuge Mingyang's chest. This skull was black and as big as a baby's fist. It looked very ferocious. Zhuge Mingyang looked up at the three and asked, "Is this the devil imprint?" "Yes." The three nodded. "Interesting." Zhuge Mingyang touched the devil imprint and muttered to himself. Willow Tree said, "Shouldn't you be nervous? But why don't you look nervous at all? What's the use of being nervous?" Zhuge Mingyang grinned and quickly put on his shirt, saying, "Continue." The three looked at each other. This fellow was a little too calm, wasn't he? Wait. Young Master and Zhuge Mingyang entered the Black Tortoise world on the same day. Zhuge Mingyang's devil imprint has appeared, then wouldn't the young master's devil imprint have also appeared? Willow Tree suddenly said, his face full of worry. "Don't worry about the young master. He made us go deep into the desert, so he must have been mentally prepared. It's just that time passed so quickly. Unknowingly, the young master has been in the Black Tortoise world for half a year." Ning Mingi shook his head. "Yes, carefully counting, we have been in the desert for 5 months. Li Yun nodded and sighed. At the same time. Chapter 1644. After all. Now, not only him, but all the people around him and all the beasts had been entangled by the devil mark. Especially the blood-devouring bees, there were countless of them. Although the pseudo-god level beasts in the Black Tortoise realm could remove the devil mark, there were not so many of them. So the only way now was to get the treasure at the end of the desert and control the Black Tortoise realm. But according to the mysterious man, it was not an easy task to get that treasure. Thinking of this, he shook his head violently. How could he be discouraged? Everyone trusted him so much, how could he let them down? Even if he died, even if he was smashed to pieces, he had to get it and give everyone back their freedom. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands tightly, and a ray of determination appeared in his eyes. But soon, he weakly let go of his hands with a discouraged look. Not because of the devil mark, but because of becoming a god. He had been in this castle for several months, but his heart could not calm down. There was one thing that made him even more depressed. When he was doing other things, he could calm his heart down. Only when comprehending the profound meaning of becoming a god, he could not do it. He had thought more than once, was it really because of the existence of the inner demons? Could he do it if the inner demons disappeared? Alas! The road to becoming a god is difficult. Qin Feiyang sighed and was about to turn and leave. Swish! Suddenly, the inner demons appeared in front of him. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, looked at the inner demon suspiciously, and asked, "Why did you run out?" "Seeing you like this, I am anxious." The inner demons pursed his lips. "What's the use of being anxious? Unless you disappear." Qin Feiyang said. "That won't do. Even if I want to disappear, I can't do it now, because your obsession is still there." The inner demons grinned. "Obsession," Qin Feiyang murmured. "Your obsession is your parents. You should know this better than I do. If you don't solve these things, I think it will be really difficult for you to become a god. The inner demon said. Even if I want to solve it now, I can't do it. Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Yes. So we have to find another way to become a god. The inner demon said. Find another way? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Actually, I haven't been idle in my inner world all these years. I've been comprehending the return, battle, and kill formula. The inner demon said. Qin Feiyang was quite surprised and asked, then, did you get anything? Although he had already grasped the return, battle, kill, and attainment formula, he did not understand the profound meaning of the six-word formula. He did not understand, he was imitated. It only had the form, but not the spirit. I do have some insights. I feel that every word of this 6 words godly formula hides a great mystery. Even these 6 words can open up a path to becoming a god. The inner demon said. You can find a way to become a god. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. I focused on studying the kill formula. The inner demon said. Why did you focus on the kill formula? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. The inner demons laughed. Because I am more bloodthirsty. I have a special liking for the kill formula. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Did you find anything? The inner demon said, according to my research, if you use the kill formula to the limit, you can also become a god. What limit? Don't tell me it's killing living beings. Qin Feiyang frowned. Heaven and earth are heartless. They treat all living beings as dogs. Why can't we? The inner demons asked. Qin Feiyang said, even if the kill formula can make us a god, killing living beings is the worst solution. Then tell me, what is the best solution? You and I, if we want to achieve great things, someone has to be sacrificed. Don't be too merciful. In this world, even if you are merciful to others, others might not be merciful to you. Look at Zhuge Mingyang. In order to become a god, how many living beings did he kill? Does he still have a clear conscience? If he can do it, why can't you? To be honest, I was inspired by Zhuge Mingyang. That's why I had this idea. The inner demons coldly snorted. I am different from him. Because I still have a bit of conscience. If you want me to kill living beings for no reason, I really can't do it. Qin Feiyang shook his head. If you want to be a good person, you can stay in the inner world. Anyway, I am the inner demons. In the eyes of the world, there is no evil that I won't do. Let me help you become a god. The inner demon said. Calm down. As you said, the 6-word formula can open a path to godhood. Then why must we choose the kill formula? We can also choose the fight formula. Qin Feiyang said. The inner demons rubbed its forehead, helplessly looked at Qin Feiyang and said, You're always so fussy. Alright, take your time, I'll continue to comprehend the kill formula. Qin Feiyang nodded. The inner demons instantly disappeared without a trace. Qin Feiyang sighed, then turned around and flew through the air, landing next to Ling Yunfei's group. He sent his voice to them, the demon mark has appeared, you already know that, right? The 3 people and 6 beasts nodded. Qin Feiyang silently consoled them, don't worry too much, I'll do my best to return your freedom. Do we look like we're worried? We're not worried at all, because we trust you. Ling Yunfei smiled. Thank you. Qin Feiyang said gratefully, then looked at Li Jian. For the past few months, Li Jian had been looking at the river without moving at all, like a stone statue, not saying a word. No one knew what kind of state he was in now. Qin Feiyang sent his voice transmission because he was afraid of disturbing Li Jian. Whoosh! He took a deep breath, crossed his legs on the ground, and entered a meditative state. Another day passed. All of a sudden. 3 days later in the morning. Li Jian got up and scanned the surroundings, his eyes full of confusion. Ling Yunfei's group, Scorpion King, and the 6 beasts opened their eyes almost at the same time, looking at Li Jian with suspicious faces. Qin Feiyang also opened his eyes. When he saw Li Jian's confused eyes, a glint flashed across his eyes. Li Jian retracted his gaze, looked at Qin Feiyang and the rest, and asked suspiciously, "What are you doing here?" "What do you mean?" Ling Yunfei's group, Scorpion King, and the 6 beasts were stunned. "Sure enough." Qin Feiyang muttered, waving his hand to Ling Yunfei's group and the 6 beasts, signaling them to keep quiet. Then he got up, looked at Li Jian, and said with a smile, "Don't you know what we are doing?" "I know." Li Jian was stunned, lowered his head and pondered for a moment, looking at Qin Feiyang, the confusion in his eyes thickened, and asked suspiciously, "What do I know? What's the situation?" Ling Yunfei's group and the 6 beasts looked at each other. "Did this guy get amnesia after sitting here for too long? Why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on me?" Li Jian looked at the 3 of them and the 6 beasts in confusion. The 3 of them and the 6 beasts did not say a word, and looked at Qin Feiyang, their eyes full of doubts. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and said with a smile, "Then do you know what you are doing here?" "What am I doing here? I also want to ask you, why am I here?" Li Jian glanced around and looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. Ling Yunfei scratched his head and said angrily, "What the hell is going on? Why is it connected?" "Shut up!" Qin Feiyang shouted. Ling Yunfei was stunned, and said with a frown, "What is it? He obviously has amnesia, I have to tell him." "This is not amnesia." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "It's not amnesia." This time, Ling Yunfei's group and the 6 beasts were even more puzzled. He didn't even remember what he was doing, how could it not be called amnesia? Qin Feiyang thought to himself, "From now on, you are not allowed to mention the word God in front of him." "Why?" Everyone was puzzled. "No means no. You guys can figure out the meaning yourself. Actually, you guys are very lucky, because you are about to witness the birth of a fake god with your own eyes." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Soon, the 3 men and the 6 beasts' eyes trembled. Listening to this, could it be that Li Jian was about to become a god? Wait a minute. Li Jian forgot what he was doing here, but he didn't forget them. In other words, Li Jian only forgot about becoming a god. No self, forget self, combined with Li Jian's current situation, could it be? Forgetting that becoming a god is the true meaning. The 3 men and the 6 beasts hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang. "Don't say anything, I don't know what you guys have comprehended. You just have to do what you want to do in your heart." Qin Feiyang thought to himself. Understood. Ling Yunfei's group and the 6 beasts nodded and then dispersed. Because they had already comprehended something. And this kind of thing, everyone's method was the same, so there was no need to stay together. After watching the 3 men and the 6 beasts leave, Li Jian turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Young master, what is going on? What am I doing here? Can you tell me?" Qin Feiyang smiled, "The answer is in your heart, you have to find it yourself." "In my heart?" The more Li Jian listened, the more puzzled he became. Qin Feiyang said, "Go find the answer in your heart." "Where to?" Li Jian was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "You can go wherever you want. There's no need for any restrictions." "Okay." Li Jian nodded, with a confused look, walked towards the jungle behind. "What am I doing? Why do I feel like I have forgotten something?" "The answer is in your heart." "Young master, why do your words sound so strange?" As he walked, he muttered, and soon disappeared into the jungle. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered for a while, then rushed to the sky above the canyon like lightning. He also warned the blood-devouring bees there, and then went to find Li Jian. After he had found Li Jian, he had been silently following behind Li Jian all this time. Day after day passed. Li Jian was like a headless fly, wandering around aimlessly, almost stepping on the whole land. Midway, he also went to ask the blood-devouring bees. But the blood-devouring bees ignored him. Then one day, he stood on the top of a mountain, looking at the sky in confusion. What have I forgotten? Who can tell me? He roared unwillingly, and his voice spread in all directions, lingering in the air. But no one answered him. Qin Feiyang, who was standing behind a big tree at the back, also remained silent. Chapter 1645. After an unknown period of time, Li Jian left the mountain peak and returned to the river. He stood by the river, staring at the slowly flowing river, as if he was petrified, not moving at all. Qin Feiyang was like a spectator, neither showing his face nor making a sound. Day after day passed. Li Jian slowly calmed down, no longer like a headless fly. The confusion in his eyes gradually dissipated, becoming incomparably clear. Suddenly one day, Qin Feiyang noticed that Li Jian's aura seemed to be unknowingly changing. The murderous aura and hostility of the past slowly disappeared, and there was a sense of detachment and transcendence. In the end, Li Jian was clearly standing in front of him, but Qin Feiyang felt that he was a little blurry. He felt that, in Li Jian's current state, he should have turned himself into a blank piece of paper, forgetting everything. Another period of time passed. Qin Feiyang discovered that Li Jian's aura was also slowly transforming. In other words, the emperor's aura was changing in the direction of divine aura. However, Li Jian himself seemed to be unaware of all this, still looking at the river. But whether it was his expression or his eyes, they became calm, and the ethereal aura emitted from his body became stronger and stronger. It felt as if he himself was not involved. As days passed, the divine aura on his body became more and more obvious. Qin Feiyang was also quite excited. Firstly, Li Jian's success had already proved that the truth he had comprehended was correct. Secondly, to be able to witness the whole process of Li Jian becoming a god with his own eyes was also a kind of opportunity for him. A few days later, Li Jian's aura had transformed to a critical point. In other words, just a little bit more and it would completely become divine aura. But regarding all this, he still looked as if he didn't know anything. However, Ling Yunfei and the others were alarmed by this divine aura and rushed over. Over the years, I've seen a lot of false gods, but this is the first time I've seen someone become a god with my own eyes. Ling Yunfei said excitedly. Yeah. I also didn't expect that Li Jian would be the first to step into the false god realm. Luo Qingzhu sighed. You can't judge a book by its cover. Or perhaps, comprehending godhood has little to do with one's talent. It should be related to life experiences. After all, Li Jian is much older than us. To use a common saying, he has crossed more bridges than we have roads. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house smiled. Woo woo. All of a sudden, a strong wind blew around Li Jian. His clothes and long hair rustled. A powerful divine aura erupted like a volcano, enveloping the entire area. Qin Feiyang and the other three, as well as the Scorpion King and the other 6 beasts, all held their breaths, fearing that they would disturb Li Jian. However, suddenly, the wind stopped, and the divine might dissipated. Li Jian finally reacted. He retracted his gaze and looked at himself. He murmured, I finally remember that I'm comprehending the profound meaning of becoming a god. But why is it like this? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. Was this a success or a failure? Why, didn't I already comprehend the true essence of becoming a god? Why did I still fail? What is the true meaning of becoming a god? Suddenly, Li Jian raised his head and roared, his face full of unwillingness. Failed. The eyes of Qin Feiyang and the others trembled. He actually failed. Ling Yunfei frowned. Boss Qin, according to Li Jian's situation, the true meaning that you guys have comprehended doesn't seem to be the true meaning. No. Forget, it must be the true meaning. Otherwise, his aura wouldn't have transformed. Qin Feiyang said. Ling Yunfei said, then why did he fail? Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, and said, I think, there should be something missing. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house asked, you mean, other than forgetting, there is something else? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, lowered his head and muttered to himself. What was missing? Ling Yunfei and the others went forward to comfort Li Jian. Although they didn't succeed, at least it proved that they were on the right path. After a long time, Li Jian finally calmed down. Then, everyone looked at Qin Feiyang, hoping that Qin Feiyang could answer the questions in their hearts. But they had never thought that Qin Feiyang himself had yet to become a god. Just like now. Qin Feiyang was also confused, his mind in a mess. Only by not forgetting your original intention and not forgetting your heart can you prove your Tao, turn yourself into a blank piece of paper, forget to become a god, forget everything, a newborn baby. Qin Feiyang pondered over it, but the more he thought about it, the more confused he became. After a while, Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Ling Yunfei and the others, saying, let me calm down alone. All right. The four of them and the 6 beasts nodded and turned to leave. After leaving Qin Feiyang, Li Jian looked at everyone and said, we shouldn't rely on the young master, we should think about it ourselves. Everyone nodded. The first step is to forget all your troubles and calm yourself down, Qin Feiyang murmured. He didn't believe that with his temperament, he couldn't even do this most basic thing. Next. He lived an ordinary life every day. He didn't use his cultivation, no matter where he went, he walked step by step. He didn't think about anything else. In short, he was just like an ordinary person. Day after day. After an unknown amount of time, he slowly got used to this kind of life. After getting used to this kind of life, he felt that his mentality gradually changed. There was less anxiety and desire, and more innocence and tranquility. Finally, one day, under his unremitting efforts, his heart calmed down. He put everything aside. He still lived like an ordinary person. Suddenly one day, he had an epiphany. The other half of the opportunity to become a god was hidden in the lives of ordinary people. But what was it? How should ordinary people live? He pondered over it one by one. He had lived in Iron Ox Town for several years, so he had some understanding of the lives of ordinary people. He excluded everything. In the end, the goal pointed to a common point. Home. That's right, home. Whether it was humans or beasts, they all had parents. With parents, there was a home. Even if some people's home was incomplete, it was still a home. Even if he was an orphan, he used to have a home. Home was the foundation of all living things in the world. Of course. Apart from family, there were other similarities as well. The most typical was survival. Every living thing needed to survive, whether it was a mortal or a cultivator. But the way to survive had to go through scheming. The so-called desire came from survival. So this common point of survival and not forgetting one's original intention were completely inconsistent. Therefore, the other half of the opportunity to become a god was home. Home represented the root, home, hope, warmth, and innocence. Thinking of this point, Qin Feiyang found a place and built a home that belonged to him. He didn't use any means. Like battle aura, like divine weapons. Every brick, every tile, every blade of grass and every tree had been painstakingly built by his own hands. It took him 2 months to build a small courtyard of dozens of meters. He was covered in sweat all day. But he didn't feel tired at all. In the end, he stood outside the courtyard and looked at everything simple and plain. He was full of smiles. He was very gratified and satisfied. This was his home. Although he didn't have a family, when he walked into the courtyard, he had an inexplicable sense of belonging. A sense of belonging was the true meaning of a home. Next, he lived in the courtyard and completely lived the life of an ordinary person. He had even traveled thousands of miles to find some wild vegetables and create a vegetable garden. In short, every day, he worked at sunrise and rested at sunset. He had 3 meals a day. Although it was hard and boring, he enjoyed this kind of life. And after having a home, he found that it was easier for his heart to calm down. This was a sense of belonging. With a sense of belonging in his heart could also calm down. Gradually, he forgot all his troubles, as if he had returned to his childhood. He was carefree and had no desires. He entered a state of returning to simplicity. Not long after, he even forgot about becoming a god. But he wasn't like Li Jian, wandering around like a headless fly. He was the same as usual, eating when he should eat, resting when he should rest, and doing what he should do. In this carefree state, finally one day, his aura began to transform. Ling Yunfei noticed this immediately and immediately brought Li Jian and the others, as well as the crocodile emperor and the other beasts, to check it out. When they saw the courtyard, they couldn't help but be stunned. During this period of time, because they didn't want to disturb Qin Feiyang, they didn't go to Qin Feiyang. This was the first time they saw this courtyard. However, they didn't go close to the courtyard and watched from afar. When they saw Qin Feiyang in the courtyard, a trace of surprise crept onto their faces. The crocodile emperor said, "Didn't you say that Boss Qin's obsession is too deep and can't become a god?" Ling Yunfei said, "Maybe, he has really forgotten, but this is too unbelievable. If it were me, I wouldn't be able to let go of this for the rest of my life." Luo Qingzhu and the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house were also in disbelief. Because they were very clear about Qin Feiyang's experience. Scorpion Emperor said, "Look, what is he doing?" They saw Qin Feiyang squatting alone in the vegetable garden, burying his head, plowing the soil and weeding the grass. Ling Yunfei's face twitched, and said, "It seems like he's planting vegetables." "You can become a god by planting vegetables. What kind of joke is this?" The crocodile emperor said. Li Jian said, "You don't understand, forget everything and return to the basics. This is a way of life. Everyone's method is the same, and this is the young master's method." Day after day passed. As Qin Feiyang's aura continued to transform, strands of divine might spread out from his body. Ling Yunfei's gaze trembled, and said, "This is really a sign of becoming a god, will he succeed? I don't know. However, he seems to have forgotten one thing." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said. "What is it?" Everyone looked at him suspiciously. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said, "He hasn't opened the door to the potential of the War King. As long as I can become a god, this is a small matter." Ling Yunfei said casually. Everyone nodded. After becoming a god and reaching a certain level, one could continue to open the door to potential. Therefore, in comparison, becoming a god was more important now. Another few days passed. Qin Feiyang's divine might finally reached a critical point, and a gust of wind swept in all directions. Ling Yunfei and the others couldn't help but feel nervous. Because they were afraid that Qin Feiyang would fail at the critical moment like Li Jian. Chapter 1646. At the same time, Qin Feiyang stood up and patted the dirt off his hands. He then put his hands behind his back and looked at the clear sky. Slowly, his mind went blank. Everything, including the courtyard and the vegetable garden, disappeared from his memory. This was the real ethereal realm. The aura emitted from his body became more and more terrifying. The surrounding mountains and void were trembling. Kill him for me. But suddenly, in the depths of Qin Feiyang's heart, a voice filled with murderous intent suddenly rang out. As soon as the voice appeared, a scene suddenly appeared in Qin Feiyang's blank mind. In the scene, a 10-year-old boy was lying on the ground in despair, his small body trembling. The boy looked at the sky, his eyes filled with disbelief. High up in the sky, a middle-aged man with his hands behind his back, wearing a dragon robe and a golden crown on his head, exuding the aura of an emperor. The middle-aged man looked down at the young master with indifferent eyes. "Father, what did I do wrong? Why did you suddenly kill the child?" The young master roared helplessly. But the middle-aged man turned a deaf ear. Next to the boy, there was a woman wearing a phoenix robe. She was also begging the middle-aged man to let the boy live. The middle-aged man still looked indifferent. He looked at the guards beside him and shouted, "Give him the spiritual disaster pill and expel him from the capital." "Why, Imperial Father, why is this, why are you doing this to me?" the boy roared hysterically. "Why?" At the same time, Qin Feiyang, who was standing in the vegetable garden, suddenly roared. A monstrous aura rushed out of his body. This sudden scene shocked Ling Yunfei and the others in the distance. "What is Boss Qin doing?" Emperor Crocodile was surprised. "Not good," Ling Yunfei said. Before his voice died away, Qin Feiyang's aura quickly dissipated. The wind also stopped abruptly. Everything gradually returned to calm. As expected. His obsession is too deep. Although he has slowly forgotten everything during this period, that memory is still there. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion sighed. In the courtyard, Qin Feiyang's hair fluttered in anger. His eyes were bloodshot. He still hadn't recovered and was still immersed in that painful memory. At this moment, the endless anger and viciousness in his heart were madly attacking his reason. "I refuse to accept this. I can't accept this, I want to kill everyone who betrayed me," he roared and bellowed. Just as he was about to lose his mind, a white-haired old man suddenly appeared in his mind. The old man's face was kind, his eyes were kind, and there was a smile on his face. "Uncle Yuan." Qin Feiyang's body suddenly trembled. He quivered and came back to his senses. "Feiyang, wake up." At the same time, an anxious voice sounded in his ears. Qin Feiyang turned around and saw Ling Yunfei and the other three, as well as the Crocodile Emperor and the other 6 beasts. His eyes were filled with worry. He suppressed his negative emotions and let out a long sigh. It seemed that he was still unable to cross the hurdle in his heart. If that past did not appear, he should have stepped into the false god realm by now. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I'm fine." Hearing this, Ling Yunfei and the others were stunned. When they saw the smile on Qin Feiyang's face, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Ling Yunfei rolled his eyes and said, "We thought you had already gone mad." "Almost," Qin Feiyang said. Luo Qingzhu asked, "Is it because of that past when you were 10 years old?" "Yes. Although it's just a memory, I feel like I've experienced it again. That despair and pain are too real." Qin Feiyang nodded. Ling Yunfei patted him on the shoulder and asked, "Then what are you going to do now?" "I don't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head, pondered for a moment, and said, "Maybe the inner demons are right." "What did the inner demon say?" Everyone was suspicious. "Prove one's Tao by killing." Qin Feiyang said word by word. "Heard it." Everyone's eyelids twitched. But they did not know how to persuade him. Qin Feiyang looked at Ling Yunfei and said, "I've completely comprehended the profound meaning of becoming a true god. There's no need to stay here any longer. Send me out." "Okay." Ling Yunfei nodded. Li Jian hurriedly asked, "Young master, what is the true meaning of becoming a true god?" "Far away on the horizon, close at hand." Qin Feiyang said with a smile and asked Ling Yunfei to send him to the castle. Far away on the horizon. Close at hand. After Qin Feiyang left, Ling Yunfei and the other three, as well as the Scorpion King and the other 6 beasts, looked around, their eyes full of confusion. Other than the courtyard and the mountain, there was nothing else. Suddenly, Li Jian seemed to have thought of something and his eyes trembled slightly. He quickly scanned everything in the courtyard, and a trace of understanding appeared in his eyes. So that's how it is, he murmured and ignored Ling Yunfei and the others. He turned and left alone. In the castle. Seeing Qin Feiyang appear, the white-eyed wolf said suspiciously, "Little Qin Zi, why hasn't your cultivation changed at all? Although my cultivation hasn't changed, I've gained a lot." Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "How long has it been?" Lu Hong said, "It's been half a year since the devil mark appeared." "What? Half a year?" Qin Feiyang stared blankly and asked, "For the past half a year, did you count the time outside or inside the castle?" "Outside, of course." Lu Hong said with a smile. "Isn't this too fast? If that's the case, Willow Tree and the others have been in the desert for almost a year, right?" Qin Feiyang said. "Yes." Lu Hong nodded. Qin Feiyang glanced at everyone and said with a smile, "Then your cultivation should have improved a lot." "Of course." Lu Jing smiled and released his aura. He was a 9-star combat emperor, and he was about to break through to the peak. The white-eyed wolf had also reached the 9-star combat emperor level. In short, the weakest cultivation now was a 7-star combat emperor. "Okay, let's work harder. I've completely comprehended the profound meaning of becoming a god. When you break through to the peak, you can directly break through to the false god realm." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Comprehended? Since you've comprehended it, why haven't you become a god?" Everyone was suspicious. "Just one step away." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. "One step away." Everyone looked at each other and immediately understood. It must be because of Qin Feiyang's inner demons. Dan Wangkai suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "By the way, you haven't unlocked the 8th level of the potential imprint." Qin Feiyang was stunned and smiled bitterly. "I really haven't." Dan Wangkai took out a Great Creation Pill and gave it to Qin Feiyang. "This is the Great Creation Pill that I just refined a few days ago. It has 6 patterns. Try it." Qin Feiyang nodded. He glanced at Yu Huang at the side, "I'll have to trouble you then." After spending so much time with everyone, it also knew the way to open the door of potential. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, it immediately released its divine power. Qin Feiyang also immediately took the Great Creation Pill. Even though his cultivation had reached the peak martial monarch realm, he was still a 9-star battle monarch, thus he was still able to activate it. This time, his luck was very good. He succeeded on his first try. It was just that the pain was really unbearable. Next, he sent a sound transmission to Willow Tree. Schwa. Very soon, Willow Tree appeared in the castle and asked, "Young master, did you succeed?" "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head and briefly explained the situation. Sigh. Willow Tree sighed deeply and said, "Don't be discouraged. Even Zhuge Mingyang was able to open up a different path to becoming a god. I believe you can do it too." Qin Feiyang nodded. Following that, Willow Tree brought Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang out of the castle. After appearing outside, Willow Tree immediately returned Chang Shui and the castle to Qin Feiyang. Still the peak. It seems that this period of closed-door cultivation has been in vain. Once he saw through Qin Feiyang's current cultivation, Zhuge Mingyang sneered. "Shut up, what do you know?" Willow Tree said angrily. "There's no need to talk nonsense with him." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, glanced at Zhuge Mingyang indifferently, and looked at the desert in front of him. Woo woo. Storms of hundreds of feet and tens of thousands of feet roared wantonly in the desert. The stuffy air made one unable to help but feel irritated. In short, the environment here was many times worse than the outer part of the desert. Moreover, even he felt a sense of fatal danger from the howling storm. Zhuge Mingyang said indifferently, "The storm here is enough to kill you in seconds. You'd better go hide in the castle." Yu Huang raised his eyebrows and said, "You talk too much nonsense." Qin Feiyang suddenly noticed that Zhuge Mingyang was holding a small black flag in his hand, and said, "What is that?" "That's the Sky Devil flag. According to Zhuge Mingyang, it devours the undead as food." Along the way, the Sky Devil flag has indeed devoured a lot of undead. Willow Tree secretly said. "There are really undead?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. "That's right. Last time, Li Yun was controlled by the undead and almost killed. And according to our guess, the undead here should be controlled by the Guardian." Willow Tree said. "Has the Guardian ever appeared?" Qin Feiyang asked. "No." Willow Tree shook his head. Sky Devil flag. Qin Feiyang glanced at the small flag again, and a cold light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Devouring the undead as food meant that this Sky Devil flag was also a monster. Moreover, it should be a monster with a weapon spirit. How many more tricks does this person have? Woo woo. Suddenly, a tornado more than 10,000 feet high, carrying yellow sand all over the sky, rushed towards Qin Feiyang and the others. Willow Tree's face changed, and he quickly rolled up Qin Feiyang and dodged. Those numerous wind blades actually left behind numerous ghastly wounds on Qin Feiyang's body. Blood was flowing out from them. Even Willow Tree, Ning Mingi, Li Yun, Zhuge Mingyang, and Yu Huang also had many wounds on their bodies. Damn, the power of this storm is a bit too strong. Yu Huang said in shock. It had also been in the castle, so it didn't know how many dangers Willow Tree and the others had experienced along the way. It's indeed a bit scary. However, it can't threaten me for the time being. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, and decisively opened his armor. Yu Huang also opened his armor. This armor was snatched from the hands of the great deacon last time. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "Let's go." The group of people cut through the sky and continued to rush towards the depths. Willow Tree and the others had been in the desert for almost a year, and they had been rushing, but they still hadn't reached the end of the desert. Chapter 1647. Not long after, Qin Feiyang saw the undead. Dozens of undead jumped out of the storm and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "Do you think I'm easy to bully?" "That's right. They just think you're easy to bully. Who told you to be the weakest?" Zhuge Mingyang laughed and waved the Sky Devil flag. The black fog swept through the sky and swallowed the dozens of black shadows. Qin Feiyang looked at the Sky Devil flag and his eyes flashed. Zhuge Mingyang said, "I helped you solve the crisis, shouldn't you thank me?" Willow Tree coldly snorted, "Without you, we can still suppress it." "I'm sure. But, is it as convenient as my Sky Devil flag? I don't even need to revive." Zhuge Mingyang said proudly. Willow Tree was furious. Qin Feiyang said in a low voice, "What are you competing with him for? Concentrate on dealing with the storm." "Yes." Willow Tree quickly nodded. At this point, not only did the power of the storm become stronger, it also became very dense. Almost every 10 breaths, a storm would blow over. But after activating the armor, Qin Feiyang was able to handle it with ease. Although he would sometimes be injured, at least it would not endanger his life. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. In these 2 days, thousands of undead had appeared. Without exception, They were all swallowed by Zhuge Mingyang's sky devil flag. Wait. In the morning. Li Yun suddenly stopped, glanced at the yellow sand on the left, and said in surprise, "Look, is there a hall over there?" Hall. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, and a flash of light flashed past his eyes as he quickly looked up. Willow Tree and the others also turned their heads to look. In the void, yellow sand flew all over the sky, blocking their line of sight. But Willow Tree and the others, like Li Yun, all caught the outline of a hall. However, Qin Feiyang did not see it. Because his cultivation was not as high as Willow Tree and the others, he could not see as far as Willow Tree and the others. Qin Feiyang urged, "Let's go and take a look." If it really was a large hall, then it was very likely that they had already reached the end. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was in such a hurry, Willow Tree immediately flew over with him. As they got closer, Qin Feiyang finally saw the outline of a large hall. Furthermore, it was extremely huge. According to his initial estimation, it occupied an area of at least a few hundred kilometers and towered into the clouds. It was like a primeval demonic beast lying there, emitting a mysterious aura. It really is a palace, but isn't it a little too big? Zhuge Mingyang's face was full of shock. Indeed. In my entire life, this is the first time I've seen such a tall hall. Li Yun nodded. With their eyesight, they could now clearly see the hall. The hall was completely black, like a huge mountain, towering into the sky. That shocking majestic aura rushed towards them, and even they, the false gods, could not help but feel a sense of insignificance. And on one side of the front of the hall, there was a huge stone tablet. The stone tablet was also completely black, and there were 6 big words engraved on it. Forbidden area. Trespassers, die. These 6 words, as if they were cast in blood, emitted a shocking murderous aura. Even Qin Feiyang could not bear this murderous aura. A deep fear surged uncontrollably from the depths of his heart. He felt that those 6 words were like 6 death gods. Qin Feiyang and the others stopped half a mile in front of the hall and looked at the hall from afar, their eyes full of vigilance. Why is there a hall here? And it's in the deepest part of the desert. This is too strange. Could there be some demon sealed inside? Li Yun and Ning Mingyi whispered. Zhuge Mingyang asked, "You've been in the Black Tortoise world for so many years. Have you not heard of this hall?" "No. It can be said that no one has ever been here since ancient times. The reason we can come here this time is entirely because we ate the divine meat of the giant python. Our bodies have been strengthened, and we can barely withstand the storm here," Li Yun and the others said. Zhuge Mingyang nodded and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He found that Qin Feiyang's eyes had a trace of desire and excitement. What's going on? Could this hall be Qin Feiyang's purpose of entering the desert? Zhuge Mingyang was suspicious. His eyes flashed slightly, and he said in a deep voice, "This hall is too strange. It's best that we don't provoke it, go around it, and continue to go deeper." "No." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. As expected. Zhuge Mingyang sneered and said, "Brother Qin, what do you want to do?" Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and said, "Enter this hall." "Enter? Don't joke. Didn't you see what's written on the stone tablet? Forbidden area, trespassers, die. You don't want to live, but we do," Zhuge Mingyang said. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "Don't you just want to know what's in this hall? Why do you have to be so sarcastic? What do you mean? Brother Qin, have you always known about the existence of this hall?" Li Yun said in surprise. "Isn't it obvious? He asked us to enter the desert for this hall." Zhuge Mingyang sneered. Li Yun was stunned. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Then what's in this hall? Why do you have to come all the way here?" Qin Feiyang did not answer. "Brother Qin, we're in the same boat now. You can't plot against us behind our backs. Zhuge Mingyang said. Willow Tree said angrily, are you trying to sow discord again? Am I trying to sow discord? You're too funny. We've come all the way here. At least let us know the purpose of coming here. Li Yun, Ning Mingi, don't you think so? Zhuge Mingyang said. Ning Mingi looked at Qin Feiyang, whose face was a little gloomy, and said indifferently, I don't care. I'll do whatever the young master says. Zhuge Mingyang was stunned. Actually, it doesn't matter whether you know or not. Because I believe in Brother Qin's character. He definitely won't harm us. Li Yun also said. Zhuge Mingyang's face became extremely ugly. He did want to sow discord, but he didn't expect that Li Yun and Ning Mingi wouldn't fall for it. This made his current situation a little awkward. Qin Feiyang glanced at Zhuge Mingyang with sarcasm, then looked up at the main hall and waved his hand. Let's go. Without any hesitation, Willow Tree immediately took Qin Feiyang and flew toward the main hall. Yu Huang also stayed by Qin Feiyang's side, staring warily at the surroundings. Li Yun and Ning Mingi looked at each other and quickly followed. Only Zhuge Mingyang stayed where he was, hesitating. After dodging a few storms, Qin Feiyang and the others came to the main hall in an instant. The strange thing was, there was no storm within 100 feet in front of the main hall. It was as if there was an invisible barrier in the void that isolated the storm. Chapter 1648. When Li Yun heard this, she pointed to the door of the main hall and said, then you go and push the door. Me? Ning Mingi's expression froze. He looked at the stone door of the main hall with fear in his eyes. Just the door of the main hall was more than 100 feet high. Li Yun teased, didn't you say that these words are just to scare us? Then what are you afraid of? I'm just guessing. Ning Mingi smiled embarrassedly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. You guys stay here. I'll go. Young master, no. Willow Tree hurriedly said. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. You haven't broken through to the pseudo-god realm yet. What if something happens? Let me go. With my strength, even if something happens, I should be able to escape unscathed. Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and said, let me go. At the critical moment, I can enter the castle, and your divine item may not be able to deal with those accidents. What he meant was, Willow Tree's divine item was not on the same level as the castle. If they really encountered danger, the castle would definitely be able to withstand it, but Willow Tree's divine item may not be able to. Willow Tree frowned and wanted to say something. Enough. Listen to me. You won't go wrong. Qin Feiyang smiled and walked toward the door step by step. Whoosh! Zhuge Mingyang also came to Willow Tree and the others at this time, staring at Qin Feiyang. Soon. Qin Feiyang walked to the steps in front of the door. There were a total of 9 steps, and the stone tablet was beside them. Qin Feiyang tried to step on the first step. After waiting for a while, there was no sound. He also breathed a sigh of relief and stepped on the second step. But suddenly, his body stiffened as if he had discovered something. He glanced behind the stone tablet and his face suddenly turned pale. What's going on? Willow Tree and the others were surprised and looked at the stone tablet. But because they were facing the stone tablet, they could not see the situation behind the stone tablet. All of you, retreat. Qin Feiyang suddenly shouted, his face full of anxiety, and retreated toward Willow Tree and the others like lightning. What on earth did you see? Why are you so flustered? Willow Tree and the others were puzzled, but they did not dare to delay and quickly retreated. At the same time. Ayu. Kemu. Yu. Fei Go. Chen following. A terrifying dragon's might, like a volcanic eruption, surged out from behind the stone tablet and rushed towards Qin Feiyang and the others. Everyone's eyes trembled. Lu Mu cried out in alarm, his face pale. "It's the fire dragon!" Willow Tree roared. "Fire dragon!" Li Yun, Ning Mingyi, Yu Huang, and even Zhuge Mingyang changed their expressions. "That's right. It's me." A sinister laugh sounded from behind the stone tablet. The waterfall of the dragon's power was extremely terrifying, and rushed toward Qin Feiyang and the others. The group of people was immediately imprisoned, unable to move. Then, a 10-meter-long fire dragon flew out from behind the stone tablet and entered everyone's line of sight. "He actually didn't die," Yu Huang said in surprise. Although the fire dragon's figure was much smaller than last time, it had seen the fire dragon with its own eyes, so it could recognize it at a glance. Hearing Yu Huang's words, the fire dragon's body suddenly emitted an astonishing amount of hostility, and said, "Last time, it was because of my carelessness that I fell into the hands of Qin Feiyang. This time, it's you who are going to die, especially you, Qin Feiyang. Today, I swear I won't stop until I swallow you alive." The fire dragon stared at Qin Feiyang, its huge eyes full of resentment. "Is that so? I'm afraid you don't have the ability. If you have the ability, release the pressure and fight me one-on-one." Qin Feiyang sneered. "One-on-one?" The fire dragon was stunned, and then it raised its head and laughed, its laughter full of ridicule. "You don't dare." Qin Feiyang provoked. "Do you think I will give you a chance to revive Chang Shui?" The fire dragon smiled contemptuously, and a divine power swept out, carrying a destructive aura, and blasted towards Qin Feiyang. "Humph! You think I don't exist?" Suddenly, a cold snort sounded. Zhuge Mingyang, who was behind, suddenly rushed out a terrifying divine power, and broke the fire dragon's majesty. This, Qin Feiyang's body became light, and he turned his head to stare at Zhuge Mingyang in surprise. One must know. This fire dragon was a true god of war. Back then, it even forced his ancestor to enter the third floor of the miracle. One could only imagine how powerful it was. And Zhuge Mingyang was only a false god, and he hadn't opened all the doors of potential, so how could he break the fire dragon's pressure? The fire dragon also looked at Zhuge Mingyang in surprise. Whoosh! After Qin Feiyang came back to his senses, he immediately rushed towards Willow Tree and the others. The most important thing now was not to think about Zhuge Mingyang's matter. He had to meet up with Willow Tree and the others first. Because only by standing together could they advance and retreat together. Boom! However, there was a trace of ridicule in the fire dragon's eyes, and the pressure emerged again, rushing towards the group of people. Zhuge Mingyang said, "Go to the castle quickly, as for Willow Tree and the others, I will take them to my space divine item, and then we will communicate and discuss countermeasures." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Zhuge Mingyang's words were not credible at all. But now, he had no choice. In the blink of an eye, the pressure had already rushed over. Qin Feiyang had no time to hesitate, and immediately went into the castle, and then waved his hand, and the situation outside appeared. Immediately, a scene that almost drove him crazy appeared in front of his eyes. Zhuge Mingyang did not take Willow Tree and the others into the space divine item. In other words, Zhuge Mingyang left Willow Tree, Yu Huang, Ning Mingyi, and Li Yun outside. "Zhuge Mingyang, you bastard!" The three people and one beast were also furious. Lu Mu didn't hesitate. He hurriedly brought Li Yun and the other two as well as Yu Huang into his spatial divine item. Humph! The fire dragon snorted coldly. The terrifying pressure firmly imprisoned the space divine item. At the same time, its body, which was more than 10 meters long, expanded in the wind. In the blink of an eye, its body became more than 10,000 feet long, like a majestic mountain, suspended in the void, and its power rolled in all directions. The storm that was enough to kill a fake god did not even leave a trace on its body. You dare to hide in the space divine item in front of me? The fire dragon's eyes were full of contempt, and it raised its huge tail and slammed it. Clang! The willow tree's space divine item was shattered on the spot. The 3 people and 1 beast fell in the void in a sorry state, their bodies dripping with blood. Although the fire dragon's huge tail hit the space divine item, because the fire dragon's strength was too strong, even they suffered devastating injuries. Boom! The fire dragon's pressure rushed over. Once again, the 3 people and the beast were imprisoned. What should we do? At this moment, facing the war god level fire dragon, they really felt the aura of death. Their eyes were full of fear. Just a few ants, how dare you follow Qin Feiyang around all day? You really don't know life from death, I will send you to hell now. The fire dragon said contemptuously. Its huge tail was raised high, and with a deafening sound of wind and thunder, it slammed towards the 3 people and 1 beast. Chapter 1649. Stop! Just as the 3 people and 1 beast were in despair, Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air and shouted at the fire dragon. The 6 elders also appeared together with him. Chang Shui was in their hands. And it had already entered the state of recovery. The fire dragon's might covered the sky and covered the earth, but it was blocked by Chang Shui. Young master, what are you doing here? Willow Tree roared. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, I can't watch you die. It's so touching. Even I can't help but cry. But even if you come out, you can't save them. Die, ants. The fire dragon's murderous intent soared to the sky. Its giant tail was like a thick whip, slamming towards the 3 people and 1 beast. You'd better restrain yourself. Do it. Qin Feiyang's eyes were cold. The 6 elders' eyes were also filled with murderous intent. Chang Shui turned into a flash of light and charged towards the fire dragon. Although the 6 of them were not as terrifying as the 100 or so fake gods that were awakened at the same time, Chang Shui's power was enough to threaten the fire dragon. The power was enough to tear the sky and split the earth. Huolong was shocked. He stared fixedly at Chang Shui, his expression incomparably ferocious. It wanted to kill Willow Tree and the others. But it was also afraid of Chang Shui. In the end, it reluctantly withdrew its giant tail and used its pressure to sweep up the Willow Tree and the others and Yu Huang. In a flash, it appeared in front of the gate of the main hall. Damn it! Qin Feiyang cursed in his heart. He originally wanted to use Chang Shui to scare away the fire dragon. This way, the Willow Tree and the others would naturally be out of danger. But he didn't expect the fire dragon to be so smart and take the Willow Tree and the others away. Do you think it's possible to save them? The fire dragon sneered. Qin Feiyang turned to the fire dragon and said word by word, if you dare to kill them, I guarantee that you won't be able to leave today. The fire dragon's eyes were full of mockery instead of anger. I know that the guardian must be hiding somewhere right now. But if you think that you can survive by relying on it, then you're wrong. I believe you haven't forgotten what happened at the entrance of the entrance last time. Fire Dragon was there too. Didn't I kill you all the same? So you'd better not count on it. Qin Feiyang grabbed Sangshu and sneered. The fire's pupils narrowing its eyes. Although Qin Feiyang was unable to fully revive Pale Snow and the ancient castle, these 2 divine artifacts would automatically protect their master. If the Chang Shui and the castle were to revive on their own and display the power of the law again, then the guardian really wouldn't be able to help it. I'll give you a chance. Let them go and fight with me. Qin Feiyang said. The fire dragon was taken aback. The Willow Tree trio, Yu Huang, the 6 elders, and Zhuge Mingyang, who was hiding in the space divine item, were all stunned. Did he hear it wrong? Qin Feiyang actually challenged the fire dragon. You have to know. The fire dragon was a true god of war. And Qin Feiyang was only at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. The difference between the two could be described as 108,000 miles. This was simply courting death. Qin Feiyang looked at the fire dragon and said, "You didn't hear it wrong. Let's have a one-on-one battle. If I lose, I'll give my life to you. Are you sure?" The fire dragon asked. Of course. But for the sake of fairness, you have to suppress your cultivation to the same realm as mine, and you can't use your pressure to imprison me. Qin Feiyang said. Suppress cultivation. No pressure. The fire dragon raised his eyebrows. What's wrong? Don't tell me you don't dare. Don't forget, you are the god of war. Even if you suppress your cultivation to the same realm as mine, even if you don't use your pressure, you still have the absolute advantage. After all, no matter how you suppress it, your divine power and divine body are still there. I'm afraid that just relying on divine power alone is enough to kill me. Qin Feiyang said. Haha, the fire dragon laughed out loud, his eyes filled with killing intent, and said, "All right, I'll satisfy you, but you have to promise that you won't play any tricks." I've always been a man of my word. Qin Feiyang said. Cut the crap. I've always believed that the words of humans can't be trusted. What if you join forces to revive Chang Shui after I return these people to you? Wouldn't I lose more than I gain? I want you to swear in the name of your ancestor, Qin Batian. The fire dragon said. It seems that you know me quite well. You know that my ancestor is very important to me. Qin Feiyang mocked. The fire dragon said impatiently, "Cut the crap, hurry up." Okay. I swear in the name of my ancestor that I'll fight you fairly and won't let a third party interfere. If I violate this oath, I'll be destroyed by the heavens and never reincarnated. Qin Feiyang shouted. The fire dragon said, "Also, you can't use Chang Shui or the castle." Young master, please reconsider. The willow tree exclaimed. Without the qi and blood pearl, even if he used Chang Shui and the castle, Qin Feiyang wouldn't be a match for the fire dragon, let alone without Chang Shui and the castle. Qin Feiyang glanced at the willow tree, then looked at the fire dragon and said, "I swear, I won't use Chang Shui or the castle." Awesome. Even I can't help but like you. The fire dragon laughed and withdrew his pressure. The 3 people and 1 beast immediately rushed to Qin Feiyang's side. The willow tree said, "Young master, quickly give us Chang Shui. We'll kill it." But Qin Feiyang was indifferent. Li Yun said in surprise, "Brother Qin, you're not really going to fight it one-on-one, are you? With your current strength, you're no match for it." "Yeah. Isn't it just an oath? What's the big deal?" Ning Mingyi also said. "The name of our ancestors is not to be blasphemed. I swear in the name of our ancestors. I will abide by it." Qin Feiyang said. "Young master," the willow tree was extremely anxious. "That's enough. Don't say anything." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at the willow tree, saying, "I remember that the other people from the Vanga League seem to be in your space artifact. But why didn't I see them when your space artifact shattered?" The willow tree said, "My space artifact is too small. It can't even accommodate dozens of people, so not long after we went deep into the desert, I transferred them to Li Yun's space artifact. So that's how it is." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. He looked at Ning Mingyi and Li Yun and said with a smile, "It seems that you two have gotten along very well in the past year. Otherwise, Ning Mingyi would definitely not be at ease to let the people from the Vanga League stay in Li Yun's space artifact. Today is different from the past. Now that we are standing on the same boat and going through life and death together, we naturally can't be calculative about past grievances." Ning Mingyi said with a smile. "Yes. After going through so many things, we can be considered to have seen through it. Life is short. Why should we make a fuss over such a small matter as if we are enemies who killed our fathers? Li Yun also said. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and said with a smile, I'm really gratified that you can think like this. Li Yun was stunned and said teasingly, it's not appropriate to use the word gratified on us. After all, no matter what, we are still considered elders, and gratified is usually used by the elders to the juniors. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He shook his head and said with a smile, it does seem to be a little inappropriate. Seeing that Qin Feiyang and the others were chatting as if there was no one else around, the fire dragon could not help but be furious. He said angrily, are you guys done chatting? Do you think I don't exist? Willow Tree and the others immediately looked at the fire dragon, their eyes flashing coldly. What are you glaring at? If it weren't for Qin Feiyang, you would have been corpses by now. No, not even corpses would be left. The fire dragon's eyes were full of contempt. They were even more annoyed. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, leave. Willow Tree said, young master, think about it again. Don't be stupid. My ancestors' reputation can't be tarnished because of me. Willow Tree, Changshui is for you. Be careful of the guardian. But remember, no matter how the battle between me and the fire dragon is, you can't interfere. Qin Feiyang turned around and handed the Changshui to Willow Tree. He said very seriously. Young master, Willow Tree was burning with anxiety. This is an order. Qin Feiyang shouted. Willow Tree's eyes trembled. He bowed and took the Changshui. He said respectfully, this subordinate obeys. Qin Feiyang turned around, his eyes firmly locked on the fire dragon. The fire dragon waved its huge tail and also stared at Qin Feiyang. But the difference was, Qin Feiyang's expression was extremely solemn. And the fire dragon's eyes were full of sneer and murderous intent. Seeing that Willow Tree and the others and Yu Huang were still standing behind him, Qin Feiyang said angrily, what are you waiting for? Leave. Willow Tree sighed, looked at Ning Mingi and the others, and said, let's go. Ning Mingi, Li Yun, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders also sighed helplessly. They turned around and walked half a mile away. Then they stopped and looked up at Qin Feiyang, their eyes full of worry. He actually dared to fight the fire dragon one-on-one. How stupid. In the space divine item. Zhuge Mingyang snorted and also stared at Qin Feiyang and the fire dragon through the screen. Woo woo, there was no storm around the hall. But at this moment, the sound of wind gradually sounded in the void. Qin Feiyang's long hair and clothes were fluttering at this moment. Around the fire dragon, gusts of wind gradually blew. A man and a beast stood in the air, looking at each other, invisible sparks colliding. The wind was getting stronger and stronger. The sound of the wind was also getting more and more ear-piercing. The fire dragon's body shook violently and shouted, can we begin? Bring it on. Qin Feiyang said. Boom. The aura of a peak 9-star war emperor realm exploded. His long hair danced in the wind, his clothes fluttered, and his thin body, in the eyes of Willow Tree and the others, was like a huge mountain, incomparably majestic. Go ahead. Continue to be arrogant. In any case, I will never show mercy. The fire dragon raised its head and laughed, its divine might rolling out. But in an instant, its cultivation was suppressed to the peak of the 9-star war emperor realm. Following closely. Without any hesitation, it raised its huge tail and charged towards Qin Feiyang with the deafening sound of wind and thunder. Boom! At the same time, Qin Feiyang's body also surged with a monstrous battle intent, as if he was possessed by a war god. That's right. It was the battle character art. Facing the fire dragon, he did not dare to be careless. After all, the fire dragon's strength far surpassed his. Most importantly, the fire dragon had a divine body and divine power. As for him, he had a mortal body and battle chi. There was no comparison at all. However, since he had already come this far, he would never back down. His self-esteem, his pride, would not allow him to back down.